It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Wednesday, April the 3rd. Good morning. The Allman Brothers with Ramblin' Man. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there as I say regularly. The Allman Brothers are not Southern rock. They're not rock and roll. They're not blues-based rock. They're Allman Brothers. They just have their own style of music. Don't compare them to anything.
Did you say almond with a D? Is that almond with a D?
They were originally called Almond Joy. That's true. One of the names, the Almond Joy Band. They went with Allman Brothers. I'm just a fan of the. You know what? Big Allman Brothers guy right here, and I just always laugh when people compare them to any other band because there was nothing like them before. Really hadn't been much like them since, and there it is. I'll step off my high horse and I'll just simply say,
oh, no.
Here's how it works for me. The Allman Brothers are playing. I'm sitting in a studio right now. I'm listening on with headphones, and I have a screen in front of me that has a digital clock counting down to the end of the song, and it somehow snuck up on me. Because I'm just lost. I'm just like, oh man,
yeah.
I love when J-Mo starts doing the counter stuff on the snare drum, and then Butch just keeps blowing through. I'm just listening, and then the double guitar comes in, and then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I'm talking. All right, here we go.
Every time I listen to that song and a few Allman Brothers songs, I'm thinking, who was in the control room and had to just pull that down? I wonder how long they played. Did Dickie just keep going with the guitar solo there for another 25 minutes?
Yes, he did.
And why did you pull it down? Is there someone over there standing in the corner with the cut sign? Like, hey, we got to get this on one side of a vinyl album. But yeah, no, the Allman Brothers stand alone. Definitely a top 5 band for me.
Yeah, there was. Sorry, Candice, what was that?
I was going to say, that's a headbanging song right there.
Is that a headbanging song?
You wouldn't think it. That's the thing about
but it gets you going.
But yeah, really, you just got to lower your head down nice and slow and then just start shaking it.
Sure. Oh, I feel you. Tom Dowd.
My neck.
Tom Dowd was the guy at the mixing board on a lot of those sessions, and he gave, in a lot of documentaries and interviews, and he'll talk about just like looking through there, and Dwayne, who was a kid in his early 20s, like leading that band and kind of coming up with the entire concept and the conceit of what the Allman Brothers would be. And he goes, you're just looking through the glass and he's playing and you're thinking, what, I'm supposed to stop this? I'm like we're supposed to contain this within the length of an LP? What are you, nuts? So anyway, there's our Allman Brothers tribute for the day. Just it puts me in a very nice mood. Yesterday, right after the show ended, news broke, I think, while we were on air, but I didn't notice it. Man, what a drag. Okay, when I was in high school, I identified myself by the music I loved. And I'm talking late 70s, early 80s. I'd moved away from the Allman Brothers and from a lot of the classic bands because I was obsessed with new wave bands and punk bands, and that's kind of where I saw myself. That's how I stood apart from my friends. And there was another thing that helped me stand apart from my friends, and only a few of us were hip enough to dig, and that was SCTV.
No,
everybody loved Saturday Night Live, but me and the cool kids, this is us thinking we were cool, we were really into SCTV, which you'd get these little 30-minute chunks on PBS occasionally. And then NBC started airing it on Friday nights for 90 minutes in 1979 or 1980, probably, maybe as late as 81. Those were my favorite. Suddenly Friday night was like, I'll go to the party, but I've got to get home at 10:30 because I'm not missing SCTV.
Yeah, no on-demand back then. No. I weren't even VHS in it yet. And you're right. The thing with Saturday Night Live is it was just cool. It came onto my radar first. It was the show that you had to kind of sneak watch or get something past mom and dad. But to be honest, at that age, I didn't get half of the stuff they were doing. A lot of it was political and just adult themes.
Sure.
I knew it was cool, like Johnny Carson, when they were all drunk in the middle of the afternoon recording the show. I knew something was happening, but I didn't relate to it. SCTV was funny. It made me just laugh out loud. And all of our friends, when we got together, it was, you talk about SNL on Monday, but everyone talked about SCTV because it was just, it was just funny.
Yeah.
Everything about it was just funny.
Absolutely true. And so many of the people from that show have gone on to have like extraordinary careers. Martin Short, John Candy, Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara. We've seen these people, Rick Moranis, many, many times. One of the guys from that show who had who didn't have the career publicly, not so many parts as some of his other SCTV co-conspirators, but who was bang for the buck just batting 1,000 like the rest of his castmates was Joe Flaherty, and he passed away yesterday at the age of 82. Yeah. Joe Flaherty, Guy Caballero, Count Floyd, and a million other characters on SCTV.
Yeah.
I mean, that he always sort of seemed like the adult in the room. He was a little older than the rest of the cast, or at least it seemed that way at the time.
Yeah.
And I just remember he was the one guy on the show that I thought he's kind of the same in every character. There's just a thing that comes through about him.
Yeah.
But man, was everything he ever did funny. And then obviously later, Freaks and Geeks, a brilliant show that only had one season.
God, yes.
One of the great TV dads of all time.
Yeah.
Happy Gilmore. A great turn in Stripes, where he doesn't speak a word of English. He's just one of the Czechoslovakian border guards at the end.
Yeah.
Everything Joe Flaherty did was funny, and I saw that news yesterday when I just came across my purview, and I sat for a second, and it was no different than hearing that someone from one of my favorite bands as a kid died. I was like, man, I spent so much time with that guy.
Yeah. I mean, me too. Before we, drive on, and so many of us have. I mean, SCTV just keeps coming up again year after year or over the years. And Candice, I don't know if you can relate to this, if you went through an SCTV phase, if you jumped on it with streaming and that sort of thing. But I did the same thing I do when, a great artist dies. I dial it up and I start listening to all their music. I turn on KQ92 to hear if we're playing blocks of that artist. So I dove in. A couple of pieces of audio here before we move on. You mentioned them. For me, Count Floyd was, we're out in South Dakota. We didn't have the Friday night or the Saturday night Elvira or kooky guy that did the horror. This was our guy that we would watch on Friday nights. But one of my favorites here, just a clip of Count Floyd.
Hi, everyone. Count Floyd here, reminding you to watch this Saturday night at 11 o'clock for Monster Chiller Horror Theater. We got a scary one for you this week. It's that three-dimensional semi-classic Dr. Tongue's House of Cats. It's in 3D, so you'll have to...
I know, that piece of audio is quiet, too. The House of Cats.
Every movie he prompted, and then he would always come back and go, well, that's not very scary, is it, kids? Oh, boy.
Yeah, every once in a while you go, that's scary stuff right there.
Just when he himself would start to howl at the moon, I mean, that was the thing that always just killed us. And, it was... when SCTV reissued all that stuff on DVD in 2005 or 6, I bought the whole box set, but with some trepidation because I thought, I don't know if this is going to hold up. And I kid you not, it was funnier than it had been in real time. Not only did it age well, it aged better. So Joe Flaherty, man, rest easy. What a great run. And of course, as I mentioned, for a lot of people, like the odd Happy Gilmore cameo or Freaks and Geeks or different things, man.
You suck. Why don't you shut the hell up? Whoa, the club went further than the ball.
Man, I mean, so much good stuff. Anyway, Joe Flaherty, what a bummer, man. What a key ingredient to a real important part of my life when I was a kid.
Yeah, bad news this morning. Good news this morning, at least one Minnesotan woke up a millionaire. It was not me, however, but Powerball paying out a little bit. It's up to $1 billion again. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Powerball here at 6:17. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Who said Led Zeppelin couldn't write a 2.5-minute banger? Not this guy. Man, I haven't heard Communication Breakdown in a while. Whoo, doggy. We were touring, we being my former band, the Black Crowes, with Jimmy Page, and I was always fascinated by the fact that Led Zeppelin didn't have singles. They didn't go to radio stations. Like, they just showed up. Led Zeppelin 1 came out. It took over with just live shows, and the word spread, and they didn't have to do any of the standard music industry nonsense. They were never part of the promotional cycles. They didn't have to make videos. They didn't have to go to radio stations and release singles. And of course, that's like the coolest thing ever, right? And I said to Jimmy, I go, man, how did you know that was going to work? And he goes, oh, we had no idea. We would have totally done that if we had to. We just did. I was like, wait, what? And he goes, oh yeah. We made a video. We made a video for Communication Breakdown. We had a couple of videos, and we were ready to completely do that. And we would have gone to radio stations. We would have done anything. We just didn't have to. And we were like, oh, well, that was lucky. And I was like, oh, okay. Never look behind the curtain. That's right.
Yeah, right. It's just an immense amount of talent, as it turns out.
Oh,
right.
that's right.
Yeah.
You're just pragmatic and smart and knew how things worked and recognized the gift when it was laid at your feet. You didn't plan for it. You just adapted and moved on with it. Okay. Note to self: be more like Jimmy Page. Usually, that's just one of those things. There's a Minnesotan up in Fridley, who's a little closer to Jimmy Page status. At least they're a millionaire now because somebody on Monday night won a $1 million. Got all numbers except the Powerball number on their Powerball ticket. It was at Casey's General Store in Fridley. Somebody went 5 for 6 and is now sitting on a $1 million ticket. If they choose to check their numbers and turn it in, then we'll congratulate them.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be excited about that, kind of, wouldn't you? I mean, you're one number short of nearly $1 billion, not the cash payout, but it would have been several $100 million. But you'd be grateful, all right? I'm going to walk out with, somewhere around $500,000. That's going to get me healthy. That's going to feel good.
Real happy.
But, however,
yeah,
I mean, one more freaking number, and that's it. You're the coolest person in the world.
But it's not like one number out of 0 through 9. It's like one number out of 60 or 70 numbers. I mean, you can tell yourself, well, how often are you going to hit one out of? I mean, how often do you hit the right number on the roulette wheel? I mean, it's not that. I wouldn't let that grind my gears too much. No. I'd be angrier if I'd gotten the Powerball but missed one of the first 5, because then that's only like $10,000. It's better to get, if you're going to get 5 out of 6, get the first 5, and then you get that $1 million. The Powerball is well over $1 billion now. There's one going up tonight. It's $1 billion. Quick question for the team here, for the room. If we're at the store, we're at the gas station, we're standing there, and I'm like, hey guys, I have no cash. You got $10? And let's say, Candice, you hand me a $5, and Brian, you hand me a $5, and I say, hey guys, thanks, and I turn around and buy 5 Powerball tickets with my $10, and then I hit for $1 billion.
Yep.
What are you asking me for in return?
$5.
$5?
Yep.
Hell no, more than that.
Really?
10 at least.
10 You want to double your money?
Double your money. Sure,
I wouldn't have to ask. I would just expect that you'd be a nice person.
I would at least give you. I mean, you would expect that I would at least pay you back the $5. No questions asked.
I wouldn't take more than 5.
Really?
No way.
Yeah. No, I mean, let's go back to the $1 million. You wouldn't grind your gears over winning $1 million and just missing by one number. What'd you say, 60-some numbers? I forget what kooky odds you came up with there in your reasoning. But you'd be like, I'm just happy to have the $1 million. I'd be happy to have my $5 back.
Okay, but that you know what that means is you are one of the rare folks who say that. Well, actually, that's not true. There's a poll.
I don't want a handout. I don't want thanks for the $5. I'd be so bitter. I'm not rare. I'm not raising the bar on, the human experience here. I'm simply bitter that you won with my $5. Just give me my $5 and piss off.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, you're making it easy on me then. That's great.
Yeah.
No, this is a question that was asked, and the questions were 4 options that were given. Just the 10. You pay back the $10, and then some. But here's the thing. One of the options was half of the winnings. Like, you should give the person who loaned you the $10 half the winnings.
Yeah.
That's completely insane. That was the second most voted upon option. That's completely nuts. I think that's just down to, first of all, remember, everybody, if you do win, don't tell a single person ever. Just pay back that $10 and say, thanks, I wish I'd won. Lie right to their face. Wish I'd won. Here's your $10 back. And then maybe consider, I got all this extra cash laying around. Maybe I'll hook them up with a little something.
I'll buy him a star. There's a star in your name.
For you and I, Steve, we have, I'm going to call it the Cheez-It law. So you've already established how much you're willing to share with me by the amount of Cheez-Its that you share with me every day. So if you buy one bag of Cheez-Its, I'm getting a fourth of those Cheez-Its, I've noticed.
Okay,
that's what I expect in every other.
That's about a healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So $250 million. That's a hell of a return
fair.
on a $5 loan, Candice Wheeler.
Right.
My God.
You did
A lot
it.
of
You
Cheez-Its.
once you started sharing those Cheez-Its, I noticed.
Right. Not
yeah.
probably binding in court, but nice try there. All the more reason not to give her even the $5 back.
Yeah, that's very
You
true.
can buy her a bag of Cheez-Its. Say, here you go. You get the whole
you go.
bag, 100% of the Cheez-Its. I don't know.
No,
Yeah,
I'll
the
go-
bigger
I'll-
question to me would be in a relationship. So I'm not married to Maria, but I've been in a relationship with her for years, cohabitating. And I win $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Do I owe Maria anything? I mean, I know not legally, I don't owe her anything,
Yeah.
but should I give her anything?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Why?
just again that just
'Cause
comes.
she's special and perfect.
Just the way she is.
That just comes down to the
She doesn't need
individual
to have them.
relationship. I don't think you're
Yeah.
under any obligation
No.
to give your earnings, your winnings to anybody. But I would imagine there's a police of you. I mean, if you give me that Powerball kick out, and then so you take the cash option after, what is it? It's around a third, I think, is ultimately what you take home. So if you want to
527. So the current jackpot's at 1.09 billion. The cash value is 527.3 million. So half.
You pay taxes on that. But you pay taxes on the 527. See, if you want the
make this
full
fun.
if you want the full $1 billion, if you want them to write you checks for $1 billion, you got to do it over 25 years. If you take the lump sum payout, they just give you like 55% of it because they say over 25 years you can invest that. You should be doing way better than the billion. Anyway, long story short, after taxes, after everything else, if you take the cash option, I think it's around a third. You'd get about $350 million out of this. So, which is still a lot of cheese. $350 million. My first thought is, well, man, I got a lot of. I got my siblings. Everybody did okay. Everyone's fine. My nephews and nieces, they're all smarter than me. Everyone's good. But I'm thinking like you could just establish like some trust funds for like literally everybody you ever liked in life. That's so much crazy money. So much crazy money. You could do so many things with it. And then I think to myself, yeah, but I don't think I'd do anything for a year. I think I would sit and stare at the wall and read books for a year just to make sense of it. Like literally, I would just kind of I'm just going to shut down for a while because I don't trust myself to suddenly have, free reign at $300 million. I'd be like, yeah, you know what? I think I am going to fly those orphans to France for their birthdays. I would be doing stupid crap like that.
I'd be worried the plane would go down. Better not.
That's very true.
Just to play it safe.
Yeah, probably.
Keep
probably
them nice
for the
and
best.
safe there in their little orphanage. Let them make something of their lives. It's something I'll never have to worry about. Odds are.
Well, odds are, but that said, don't tell me you're not taking $2 out of your pocket and going to a gas station a day and trying to get a Powerball ticket.
No, I'm actually taking the 8 o'clock hour off from the morning show to go down and buy my Powerball tickets.
Attaboy. Remember me. Remember me tomorrow, your buddy Steve.
That's right. You and Candice each get your own box. Hell, why bag? A box of Cheez-Its for each one of you. I'll have it delivered.
That'd be great. You know what? I'm going to walk in here with bags of Cheez-Its just stuffed with C notes. Here's your Cheez-Its, baby.
Enjoy. All right, Mike Evans, Hollywood Report, sports and music history. It's all coming quickly. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
We're back. Steve Gorman.
I'm having myself a good morning. It's Monday, April 3rd, and it's time for the Mike Evans Hollywood Report.
Oh, y'all got snuck up on.
Hey,
Wow.
everybody. Welcome to Wednesday. Steve and Candice and Zepp and Tony, everybody. Did you go to a Marcus Theater yesterday? $6 for any movie? This report brought to you, as always, by Marcus Theater, and I'm so happy and proud to have them as a sponsor. They are the best. Marcus Theaters. Well, I got a lot of stuff for you, but I got to tell you, I just love both the men and women's March Madness, especially the Elite Eight. The Elite Eight are so good. You had to win just to get to the Final Four. So close, but yet, if you lose so far. For the women, Friday night, North Carolina State, followed by South Carolina, followed by Iowa versus UConn Friday night. And how about Paige Buckus Beckers from Hopkins High School, a local girl, And the big star for UConn, I think I'll be putting some money on UConn. I mean, she ran circles around USC's Juju on Monday night. And Becker's Paige going against Caitlin Clark in that game, I can't wait. Oh, yeah, the men's Final Four, Purdue and North Carolina State, followed by, wait a minute, UConn and Alabama. So UConn and North Carolina State both have Final Fours, men and women, making it to the Final Four. That's amazing. All right, got some love nuggets for you. This one's not good. It appears that Justin Bieber and Haley Baldwin Bieber are over. They met in 2009, married in 2019. Now, there's talk that he wanted kids and she didn't. There might have been some wandering off the reservation, if you know what I mean. They've had counseling, but I'm hearing it's over. You remember in 2019, Felicity Huffman was arrested and pleaded guilty for paying $15,000 for falsifying her daughter's SAT score to get her into college. Felicity was fined $30,000, served 14 days in prison. She did 250 hours of community service, including picking up trash on the freeway. Felicity, of course, married to William H. Macy, and afterwards said she was retiring from show business after the very embarrassing ordeal. But here we are years later, and all these years in basic seclusion, and Felicity has signed to star in the TV series Criminal Minds spin-off show called Evolution. It's coming next season, Paramount Plus. Felicity Huffman. I like that, and I like her. Check it out. That reminds me, a lot of TV 80s reunion parties. They're popping up everywhere, including they'll be coming to Minneapolis. You pay $300 to get in, and there are tons of souvenirs you can buy. And there's a lot of stars and meet and greets and autographs and selfies and much more for much more money. Regulars at these parties include Lonnie Anderson, 78, Engelbert Humperdinck, 87, Stephanie Powers, 81, Tony Danza, 72. And if you want to wait in line a long time and pay the big bucks, you can get a selfie with Priscilla Presley, 78. The queen of all these parties, though, is Joan Collins, who is 90 years old. Hey, guys, have a great day. We'll do it again tomorrow. Mike Evans, Hollywood. See you.
There you have it.
Whistled, I heard it.
The Mike Evans Hollywood Report right here on the KQ Morning Show. And as Candice said, yes, sometimes it just sneaks right up on you. These things happen.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't it? It feels kind of good sometimes. Like, like it's scary at first, but then it's like, whew, everything's okay.
That's exactly right. So how was your night last night, Candice, your big birthday night?
It was fun. I went to Bennett's.
Nice.
Had a big steak and some lobster. And,
wow.
Yeah, they have a wonderful food there and amazing staff. And yeah, it was just got to have some friends and I just spent it with people that I love, and it was great. Surf
and turf and cocktails and good people.
Yep.
Man, that's living that's a gilded life right there, kiddo.
Yeah, it's just, I think birthdays are fun. Even, it's like, I just like to get together. It's an excuse to get together with people.
Sure.
Get presents and stuff.
Not to mention the presents and stuff. Let's move on from the present and let's talk about the past. Here's a little bit of sports history, I should say, on this day, on April 3rd. In 1985, the NBA allowed the Kansas City Kings the right to move to Sacramento, California. This is a team who started off as the Rochester Royals, then they were the Cincinnati Royals, then they were, get this, the Omaha, Nebraska, and Kansas City, Missouri Royals. They were literally called the Kansas City Omaha Kings for a while. This is no way to run a franchise. Pick a city, pick a name, stay there. They've been in Sacramento ever since, and by the way, they always suck. All right, on this day in 2019, Spurs coach Greg Popovich was ejected from an NBA game after 63 seconds. That's the record. 1 minute, 3 seconds in, he was kicked out of the game. You can never tell me he did not have a dinner reservation that night he wanted to get to.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zepp, Tony, Candice, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Wednesday, April the 3rd. Good morning. We talk a lot about our pets on this show.
Gigi.
Gigi Wheeler, a little bundle of joy. Chauncey Gorman in studio an awful lot. Not these days. He's on the mend after a little ankle surgery. We hear stories of Zepp's grand dog.
Maria.
There's a lot. What's that? I'm sorry?
What? Maria, I said.
Oh, hang on. What's that little Aussie? What's that Aussie shepherd's name?
Fry. Philip J. Fry.
That's right. Philip J. Fry.
Yeah.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my. So we're big fans of dogs right here, but I don't know that any of us could actually say, yeah, our dog is heroic by nature. But that's not the case in Alberta, Canada. Check this out. Last week, a gentleman and his dog, Hero. The guy's named his dog Hero. I mean, boy, that's putting pressure on a dog to name him Hero. But Hero came through. Long story short, in a town called Tabor, several people phoned the police to say there's a large animated dog growling, barking over in this field, and he's scary. People called in, hey, there's a complaint. This dog attacked me and my dog. We're not sure what's going on. There's a wild dog in a field. You better go check it out. Police go to check it out, and they see a large dog, an Akita. An Akita is a dog that you don't want to mess with.
No.
The police see the dog, and then from the tall grass near where the dog is stationed, growling, they hear a man crying for help. And that man was the Akita's owner. The Akita is the dog in question named Hero. His 61-year-old owner was hidden behind tall grasses, stuck in a muddy ditch. And he said to the police, I've been here for 2 days. 2 days. His dog had not left his side, did everything he could to get attention, including barking at and aggressively going after other people, all in an attempt to get some help to the guy. This dog has just been like, yo, a little help here, please. And it took 2 full days for anybody to figure it out. Oh, and and then when they got the guy out of the ditch, he was rescued. He and the dog are doing well. The dude said, the dog stayed by my side all night, kept me warm, and then fought off some coyotes.
Freaking Hero.
After I whistled, I heard a loud scream for help. So I was a little taken back with where this may have came from. So I whistled again, and the shriek came again and said, help, I'm down here. He was behind this very 5 foot tall bush of just grass and weeds and kind of laying on his back, and he was unable to get up. He was quite cold. He was shivering. For a dog to be in this situation and act the way it did and alert us and other people, if it could speak, just to say thanks so much and how much we appreciate what it did.
It knows it's Hero. Look at it. I'm looking at a photo of him. All you have to do is type in Hero the dog, Google that, and you'll see a picture of him. He looks like, that's why you name this dog Hero. He looks like a frick. Put a cape on him. Akitas. My daughter Sid, the kid's boyfriend Dylan, has one, and you've got to name him something like Champ or Scout, or they're just that kind of dog. But that's a hell of a thing. That's something a cat wouldn't do for you.
No, you definitely don't name an Akita like Lawrence. Hey, this is my dog Lawrence.
Or Fry.
Yeah, no, or Fry.
After a cartoon, no. That's quite a thing, man. You wonder, though, would your dog, your loved one, would they hang by you? Would they stick it out with you in a scenario like this? I mean, granted, Gigi might not be able to fight off a coyote, although I think she would. I think, weren't they bred to be little bastards?
She would try.
She would certainly try.
Yeah.
Vocally.
No kidding. But you wonder, would they just scamper off or would they hang there with you?
No, Gigi would never leave my side.
Chauncey would never leave as long as we were in a bed. Like if I'm stuck in the mud but on a comfortable mattress, he's good. He's there for the duration.
You're stuck in bed. He's not going anywhere. He's right there with you.
I think he'd hang. He would definitely be up for fighting off anybody that came too close. He does have an aggressive streak, which I appreciate. I'll call it an assertive streak. If he doesn't feel like I'm happy with the approaching person or dog, because dogs read the owner's vibe. They can tell when you're like, I think this guy's a jerk. I'll see him sort of the shoulders kind of hunch up a little bit and a little bit of that fur raises, whereas he can tell if I'm like, hey, there's that guy that I like. It's a whole different reaction. Chauncey's he's an action dog. He is not one of the 7 laziest dogs listed in a recent study. Basset hounds. Basset hound, your laziest dog.
Really?
Yeah, apparently so. They really just want to chill. They want to hang out, lay on the couch. Now they were bred to be hunters, and they will get focused on a scent, but otherwise a basset hound ain't doing much of anything. On the list of 7 laziest dogs, no surprise, English Bulldog, Pug. I mean, I get why they're lazy. Their faces, they look like someone smashed them in the face with a shovel.
Yeah, they can't breathe, for crying out loud. How could you can't get too worked up.
Yeah, I mean, Chauncey's got his issues with his lungs, and so he's always got snot. He's sneezing and congested all the time. I can't imagine buying a dog where you knew that was going to happen. I mean, it was like a little Easter egg surprise for us when he's about a year old and we find out he's got this bizarre medical condition. But buying a pug or a bulldog, it's like, man, you are committing yourself to some weird noises and snorts and snot all over the place.
Yeah.
Can't say I would have done the same thing. Another dog on the list, Great Dane. I didn't know Great Danes were lazy. I thought they just didn't have enough. I mean, they don't have enough room, granted.
Right.
But
I mean, that hasn't been my experience. The Great Dane that I've spent a little bit of time around. Of course, he was going through the puppy phase. You know, he's only the size of a pony at that point. But yeah, he was eager to knock things around all over the place. Seemed like he got around,
I'm remembering I did see something about why Great Danes are great city dogs, and it is because they don't need a ton of exercise. They're not looking to go out and romp and run around. And once they're adults, like any dog, once they get past the puppy thing, they're really good for people who live in apartments because they're content to lay around. Now that I'm seeing that, but then again, I could never commit to putting an animal the size of a small horse into an apartment. That's just me.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, right. But I mean, if they're sedate, I suppose. But yeah, that's just takes up a lot of room, you know.
So it's great to see that the dog Hero lived up to his name. There's another story I just saw about a hero who saved a city hall with his teeth. And by the way, this is not a dog story. This is a dude story. Check this out. Ronald Brignall is a man in Wales, Cardiff, Wales, who just turned 100 years old. And in 1941, listen to this story, an incendiary bomb was dropped during a German air raid onto the top of the Cardiff City Hall. Now, those things... And it's incendiary, meaning it's going to blow up and then it's just going to spread fire right away. And he saw that happen. He was 16 years old, walking home from school, air raid sirens trigger, and he sees an incendiary bomb land on the roof of City Hall. And he realized, we've got to get sand up there quick. You got to get a sandbag to throw. What did he do? Let's see. He scaled a drain pipe 25 feet up, with a 12-pound sandbag in his teeth.
Wow. That's hot.
That's good. That's good strong gums and good teeth.
Right, yeah.
By the way, then he went down and got a fire hose also gripped in his teeth for his second trip up the 25-foot drain pipe.
This is why you floss right here.
This is why you floss. He got the sandbag up there, came back down, brought a fire hose up there, again, clutching both in his teeth. And he said, as he was celebrated the other day on his 100th birthday, I was only a teenager. I didn't have any fear. I just wanted to make sure the bomb didn't do any damage to City Hall. Okay, great. You're a teenager. You didn't have any fear. How do you still have any teeth? I could have never. It would have never occurred to me in a million years to put a 12-pound bag of anything in my teeth and scamper up a drain pipe. Sorry, City Hall, I love you. You're gonna burn.
Yeah, right. Get everyone out of there and let it go. You know, good for him and his choppers, I guess.
Man, and he's still with us at 100 years old. I guess all those jokes about British teeth are just that, just jokes. my dude, I tell you what, man, do some dental studies on that guy. Whatever's going on with his gums, with the roots of his teeth, man. Jeez.
Right.
That's pretty spectacular. Maybe he got bit by a radioactive spider.
Yeah,
that's his superpower. Yeah, he has powerful choppers.
Powerful choppers are pretty good. I'm sure there are times. I mean, think about this. If you know you've got teeth that are that strong, there's opening a bottle with your teeth is like child's play. You're not going to think twice about it.
Right. Yeah.
I opened a 6-pack of elephant malt liquor with my teeth one night on a drunken rampage in 1991, and a week later I had a root canal. That's what happened to me.
Yeah.
So this guy's way out of my league with
There wouldn't
T
be
strength.
any beef jerky that you couldn't tackle. I mean, you'd be eating it like cotton candy.
You could just bring down game in the field. You don't even need to. You don't need to cure it. Just go get that sucker, man.
That's how you would bring down game in the field. Yeah, just leap on its back and tear its throat out with your teeth.
I think so. That'd be pretty good to have. I mean, of all the things you could have, you don't think about it. It's probably, there's X-ray vision, or there's, the hearing of a dog or whatever. I don't think we often think about what it would be like to have pit bull strength, bite.
The locked jaw, just get on there and not. Yeah, that would be a thing, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I had a mailman.
Because you'd have to taste everything. I mean, I don't know. He had to taste a hose. Yeah, I forget what, a sandbag.
Yeah.
That's the drawback,
That would be the drawback.
If that was your superpower, because you'd be leading with your teeth, and a lot of the things you'd be chomping onto, I can't imagine would taste good. But that's the burden of a superhero.
I would just like to be the kind of guy. I'd like to go into PetSmart and just sample the dog chewy things. You got all those million things, and you're just standing there working one over, and you're like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I don't know. This says for medium chewers, this is light. This is no big deal. No, Kong, that's overrated. No, I can get right through this thing. An elk antler. Let me try and just sit there and just work through it. That'd be great.
I'd like to watch you do that.
I'd like to have you watch me do that.
I'll
That'd be
film
awesome.
it.
Okay.
It's not going to happen.
If he had the superpower.
If I had the what I'm going to call the Welsh, what's that Welsh rarebit? Isn't that a bite? Isn't that a meal, a type of food? If I had the Welsh strength, the bite of this man, that's what I would use it for. I would use it not for good, not to save humanity, but just to freak out PetSmart employees.
The Jim Rose Circus Sideshow. I don't know if you guys ever caught that. It was at Lollapalooza. Came through First Avenue. There was a guy that used to, and they used to do this back in the freak show days too. When the oddities, the guy that would get shot by the cannonball, Mr. Lifto, all that fun stuff. But he would, bite onto this. It was like a little dental thing on a long cable, and they would just swing him around. In this case, it was at the arena. I saw it at the First Avenue. I didn't see this one at Lollapalooza. But they would like swing him around like you might, swing around a ball on the end of a piece of string or something like that. Yeah. And they would just get him whipping. I mean, like you couldn't even, he was flying around like a fan. You couldn't even really place his body. He just looked like a big whir, and he was just holding on with his teeth. I wonder if he was Welsh.
That sounds like that's just a nightmare to me. I still have the occasional nightmare where my teeth are falling out, and the idea of that happening in real life, me being swung around and having to hold on and clench my jaws on this thing. There's no. I'd get one full spin in that room, and all my teeth would be gone.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
I'd be as I'm falling back to earth, just gumming the air. You can see it.
Steve, which wall is Steve going to hit? How long can he hang on before he flies off and flies into one of the walls? Is he going to be the nearest wall? Is he going to make a full 360? Yeah, no, that's a tough one, man. I'm looking at a list this morning here. Things that are overpriced but still totally worth it. I don't know. I'll tell you what. We'll let you decide for yourself here at 7:17. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show, Wednesday, April the 3rd. Good morning. That was Sweet Home Alabama by Leonard Skinner, a song that's been played 1 jagillion times on the radio since it was released, and a song that still sounds pretty fresh to my ears. I remember Chicago Tribune, I believe, music critic wrote a piece 10 or 15 years ago, and he said he listed like 5 of the all-time classic rock tracks: Hotel California, Stairway, Sweet Home Alabama, a few more, and he said, Sweet Home Alabama is the only one that I don't turn off the radio when it comes on. Like, we've heard all these other songs so many times, and it was just one guy's opinion. But I remember reading that and thinking, yeah, I mean, that song, I mean, it's the perfect idea of timelessness. It just fits whatever mood you're in, to me anyway. I don't know, Sweet Home Alabama. And by the way, a song that when it was originally out, when I was a little kid, I didn't care for Leonard Skinner. It took me a while to come around on them. When I was in high school, I was more into new wave, and the kids that listened to Skinner were I just thought they all just wanted to kick my ass. You know, they were like the guys in the pickup trucks that were cruising the boulevard every Friday night looking for little new wave nerds like me. So I just associated that. And then I got to college and suddenly I'm hearing everything all over again in a new perspective, in a new context. Led Zeppelin, Skynyrd, AC/DC, bands that I knew and liked but never fully embraced. All of a sudden it was fresh and I went, oh my God, this is amazing stuff. And I think about this all the time because a lot of the classic rock music that I went back and discovered, I went back and got it thanks to the Columbia Music House. What was that thing called? Columbia House Music and Tape Club.
Yeah.
You would literally mail in a penny and get 11 albums sent to you. And then you were supposed to buy a certain amount. But just put in a fake address or you just move next semester and they never track you down. They don't know where you are. You just get a bunch of free music. And that's how I was discovering some of the older music. And I paid a penny for like Led Zeppelin 4 and Pronounced Skynyrd and Dark Side of the Moon. Literally I got 11 albums, I think. Or maybe it was $1. I don't even remember. It was something extraordinarily cheap.
It was like a penny.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom freaking out. I did not get onto it until the cassette days.
Yeah.
And a box of cassettes showed up and my mom, rightfully thought that they had all, been paid for. Where did you get that money? What did you do? I'm like, they said a penny. And they would say, there's got to be a catch. Well, we figured out what the catch was, and then you had to mail it back if you didn't want it. Back in the day, they would send you one a month then.
Yeah, that's right.
And you were billed unless you mailed it back in, which was a little bit of a pain in the butt. But we got it all figured out. And I think one day I just quit mailing them back and quit paying it.
Yeah, that's right. What are they going to? They're not going to track. They know.
Right. No.
It was a bizarre moment in time, but it makes me think about the fact. Because now my kids grew up in an age where it didn't occur to them to pay for music. Even a penny was like more than they would need. You just get online and listen to what you want to listen to.
Yeah.
You may have a subscription to Spotify now, or you may pay for even your YouTube subscription. But for the most part, music has become free. And how do you put a price on it? I mean, go back. I think about it in terms like this. Go back. What album have you listened to more than any other in your life? And what would you pay to not lose the impact of that music on your life? Like if you could say like Revolver by the Beatles. I mean, how many times have I listened to that album as a kid and I would just stare at the speaker as if it were going to, I wouldn't change my gaze. I would literally stare at a stereo speaker for 36 minutes in a row listening to that album. How much is it worth? How do you put a number on that? And because there are certain things that are worth whatever they cost. You know what I mean? Like the right album at the right time, you'll pay $10 for it. You'll pay $100 for it. If you think about what it's given you throughout your life, you'd pay $1,000. I mean, for my record collection, for the music in my life, you can't put a price on it. I'd sell my house and hand over all the money to not have that excavated from my memory. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. I was just thinking of the time that I sold all of my vinyl albums to Cheapo Records down there on Hennepin, I believe, for $20. But I had already replaced all of those with CDs. I think of some albums I bought, like The Band or Hollywood Town Hall by our Jayhawks here, right?
Yeah.
I bought that thing like 4 times. I bought it on vinyl. I bought it on, I went back and bought, the last time I bought it was on vinyl when it was reissued, but on CD, cassette, the MP3 download. So it was replacing, and I wasn't moving around milk carton crates of albums anymore. But yeah, to remove that from your life, to not have access to that, oh boy, man, you could take my truck. You could take my skis. You could take my motorcycle. I'm saying crazy things right now. My hands are starting to sweat.
Well, think about the first time you bought Hollywood Town Hall.
Don't take my music. Yeah.
The first time you bought that, it was less than $10.
Yeah.
That like an album in the 80s would have cost you $7.99 or $9.99 or whatever it was. And so think about what that, like a $10 investment has given you for 35 to 40 years. It's absolutely incalculable. And because you mentioned before the break, 10 things that are overpriced but still totally worth it. Music is underpriced and always more than worth it. But this is a pretty fascinating list, I will say. Because at first you think it's kind of silly, but really put some thought into this. No matter what it costs, good, comfortable shoes and socks.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know about the socks, but yeah, I learned the hard way with these feet.
What do you mean? You've gone style over form? Or I mean, what am I trying to say?
I'm convinced
a good
that
orthotic over I'm high heel.
that I ruined my feet by wearing crappy shoes. And,
right.
Because I used to work, as a server, and I used to have to wear these like little heeled boots and stomping on that concrete back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I really think that contributed to my feet issues today. And then just in college, wearing crappy plastic heels all the time, running around Dinky Town crap. I think I did this to myself.
Yeah.
So now I
that
have
and
to
age.
spend. It would have happened. I just don't know if it would have happened as
right.
soon.
Yeah, you're still a kid.
It was very traumatic when it happened, and I had to spend money on orthotics, and it was a big deal. And now I cannot wear shoes if they don't have arch support. Like I cannot. Like my feet.
She walks around in those nurse therapeutic shoes with the really thick. Yeah.
I'm really, really.
You make them work for you.
I do spend money on shoes, and I do think that it's worth it.
Grant Hill, one of the great what-ifs in basketball history, came out of Duke, was the next, honest to God, like Michael Jordan. His first few seasons in Detroit, he was a tremendous, all-time great player, and he signed a deal with Fila, an Italian shoe company, because he thought Nike lowballed him and ruined his feet.
Oh,
yeah. Oops. Right. I mean, like, there's been so many articles written about, man, if he had just not gone with a shoe company that didn't really understand how basketball shoes are supposed to work. Whether that's entirely true, he has talked about that at great length. Comfortable shoes and socks. I'm with you, man. There's nothing better. I had some plantar fasciitis once, and had to go get some arch support things to put in all my shoes. And within a matter of weeks, it was gone. It totally did the job. And since then, I'm very serious about what I put my feet into. I might look at something and think that looks cool, but then, man, if it doesn't fit right away, if it doesn't feel good, not a chance.
Yeah, I mean, the same way. I think we're headed out to the fair last year, and I've got my super comfortable tennis shoes on. I'm like, it's weird going out because I was the boot guy. I mean, I'm a boot guy. I don't wear tennis shoes. I wear boots, man, because I'm cool like that. That's what I'm trying to project anyway. But after a while, I'm like, no, what's the most comfortable? Oh, these are spongy. Oh, I could walk all day in these. I'm sleeping in these. I don't know how they're going to help me in bed, but I love them. And the comfort. But now, I'll tell you what, the last pair of Red Wings I got here recently, they sell their own orthotic. I'm not selling Red Wings. I probably shouldn't even mention the brand, but I'm a homer. But getting the orthotic, the right footbed in there, transforms the boot. I found out you just got to work with it a little bit to make it happen.
There's all kinds
I'll spend the extra dough on it.
There's all kinds of information about all kinds of things out there, and if you just take a moment and read the pamphlet, it's amazing. I've finally learned that. Just read the pamphlet. It's probably going to help you out. I don't wear Birkenstock sandals because I think they look cool. I'll put it that way. My God, they're comfortable. And I do like the arch support. Listen to what we're talking about. Here's something else. Here's something else that's totally overpriced, and I can't imagine not having used it. Movers. When I have moved from one city to another, when they, you get the estimate and you're like, this is highway robbery, and then the option is, well, do I want to do this with a friend in a truck?
Yeah.
And it's like, no. And then the minute they unload everything and the minute you have your new home established, you don't think about it ever again. You're just like, thank God all my stuff got here.
Yeah. I mean, if you can afford it, that's the thing. When you're younger, you can't afford it, but you don't need it. You get a couple of buddies together. If you can afford a 12-pack if you're moving and some pizza or a case or whatever, and you get the job done. But when you get older, it's just like, man, that, and you've accumulated so much heavy crap.
Yeah.
It's like everything's heavy and made of wood, and it's sturdy and it's large. And not doing it. So I'll go for the movers now. I don't think I could, or either that, or when I was young, when I was kind of tween, I was getting a little, I didn't feel like moving an entire house, but I couldn't afford to hire movers. Then I would just get rid of it all. It wasn't even a garage sale. It was a come get my stuff, and I would sell everything for $1. I'd have a $1 sale, and everything had to go except for the stereo.
Rosemary came home a few years ago with a pillow, and it was weird looking, and it was like weird misshapen pillow. And she goes, "I read this is great for people who sleep on their side. Try it." And I go, "You spent $50 on a pillow? Or it's a pillow. Who cares about a pillow?" That night, went to sleep, didn't move. best sleep I'd had in years. And I woke up the next day and I was literally like, I don't know how I lived without this pillow. And I then travel. I take that pillow when if I have a 3 or 4 day trip, I take the bigger suitcase because that pillow's going in there. It's ridiculous, but I sleep better. My neck doesn't hurt.
You have to tell me. I have bought and returned so many pillows in the past year. It's just been a nightmare.
Really? What about that square one? I saw an infomercial the other night.
For me.
No, the square. You bought the square, the cube.
I've tried them a lot of them. But this is what happened. I got a new mattress, and I got a memory foam mattress, and now I don't have any pain anymore.
Nice.
Because I think the pain was originating. God, this is so lame. This conversation.
This entire segment. I knew it when I looked at it. I was like, oh my God.
Look, we sound so I'm really passionate about this. This mattress
the parlor music,
changed my life because it's a memory foam mattress.
Yeah.
And my body can sink into it. Before I was just like laying on top of this, and I would have this space in between my butt and my back that would not get any support. Mm-hmm. And now my whole body can just sink into a memory foam, and it just changed my life.
See?
Wow. Memory foams.
Worth every penny.
So we got salespeople out there just invoicing people this morning. All right, memory foam, Bellum. I've never bought a pillow in my life, and I think I probably still have the pillow that I stole off my bed at home in 1984 when I left the house, and I don't travel with one. But now you guys have me thinking that maybe I need to, invest in the wonders. Well, Candice, you make it sound horrible.
Well, just get a new one. I mean, if you had it that long, there's probably a bunch of gross stuff in there.
No, there is a lot of gross stuff in there, but I don't. They keep getting flat, so then I just add another pillow. So now I have 3 pillows I sleep on, but they're all about 2 inches thick, and they smell like ass.
Ew.
Yeah, I keep forgetting which one I put between my legs. I'm like, I think it's this one. Got to shower more.
A lot of things that I used to roll my eyes at, and now I realize, it really makes a difference. I had my buddy Kenny, when we were in our mid-20s, he was way ahead of his time because now with the Food Channel, everybody's a gourmet chef. Everybody's obsessed with food. That was him his whole life. And I went to this guy's apartment, and we were probably both 23, 24. And he had the nicest pots and pans. And I mean, so nice that I even at that age recognized, I was like, oh my God, what is with this cookware, dude? Yeah, and he had gotten it all he's like, I got this on sale at whatever that place that used to be in the mall. It was like, I don't know, it was where I looked at like, that's like for doctors and lawyers to get stuff from. Like, what do you mean? You spent money on your Creuset cookware?
Is that copper?
And yeah, exactly. It was that copper stuff. And he explained to me how different it makes preparing food. And I, of course, said, you are out of your mind. This is a scam. A pot is a pan, is a pan, is a pot. And years later, boy, the first time I was like literally like heating up soup in a nice saucepan, I was like, wow, that's perfectly evenly heated, much faster. What happened? And when I came up to Minneapolis a year and a half ago, first time I was here a little ahead of Rosemary, and we didn't bring all the stuff. We had to get a new place here and get a whole bunch of new stuff. And so I'm at Target, and I need just a saucepan and a couple of frying pans, and I'm like, I'm not going to spend I'll just get the cheap thing. It's fine.
What's literally in the grocery store?
I literally am heating up soup, and I'm like, this soup tastes like metal.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Aluminum.
The cheap crap. It really is. There's a reason it's cheap.
Yeah, what's that stuff that scrapes off, that coating or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you realize that it's not on the bottom of the pan anymore, and you're thinking, well, I hope that's not cancer because I think I just consumed a lot of that with my ramen noodles. I have never also bought myself a nice set of pots and pans, but I have purchased 3 other people a nice set of pots and pans that like to get around the kitchen and do the cooking. I like to go to places to eat that have nice pots and pans. But, another one for me, it took me a long time to figure out, and that is, and it surprises me here in Minnesota, how many people go through a winter without proper clothing. Candice hates the winter, but I still have yet to see you in Gore-Tex, in windproof, waterproof, solid-ass clothing. Now, growing up in the outdoors and loving to hunt, when I was growing up, it was cotton. It was wool. It was a flannel and blue jeans with your long johns on underneath. You quickly got wet. There was no wicking properties. You were freezing. I pretty much hunted with hypothermia for the first 20 years of my life. Now there's an abundance, almost a kind of a sickening abundance of how much proper winter wear and that stuff that's out there. And of course, it's expensive as hell. But the first time I went out hunting and it was pouring rain, you could see your breath. It was like 28 degrees, sleeting out. And I had purchased some Gore-Tex for like $1,000. Pants, the trousers and the jacket and with the insert and the whole thing. And I'm sitting out there like you're sitting in your living room watching the ball game. And I'm like, what in the hell took me so frickin' long to be comfortable outside? I like to be outside in bad weather now. I rather enjoy it because I've got the right clothing. But I see people all the time, every day in the winter, last year, the hard winter in Minnesota, and they're coming in these, cheapo coats or something like that. Or I'm like, yeah, it's very simple. It's called Gore-Tex. It's all over the place. A million different companies make it. Go ahead and invest in it. It'll make the walk into work or hell, you may actually want to go for a walk outside in the winter and enjoy the cold air in your lungs.
My brother Tom lives out in Colorado, moved there probably 25 years ago, and quickly learned, of course, if you live in Colorado, everybody you ever met is suddenly a skier. Hey, can I come out? And we'll go. And he and his wife and kids, they adopted. They went right into it. They love to ski. They're very active. A lot of hiking and bicycling and skiing. And, he looks younger than he did when he moved out there 25 years ago now. He's in great shape. But one of the things that he did, thankfully, for example, we were talking back in say 2009 or 8, and he said, you should bring the kids out skiing sometime. And I said, that'd be great. They've never skied. We would love it. And it takes a while to get that whole plan together. And I called him one year. I said, hey, spring break next year. I said, what's it like in March? He goes, it's usually great. Come out, end of the season, but it's still as long as blah, blah, blah. Long story short, we book the trip, we go. And I said, well, we don't have any gear. And he goes, dude, I've got a basement full. Don't worry, no matter how big your kids are. Yeah. Because every year, at the end of the season, April and May, everybody puts everything on sale, and he just goes and buys a few pieces. And
now's the time.
In various sizes, because he's got so many people coming to visit, he's just got a giant bin full. And that was the first time getting to where you were going with this. I've always had winter clothes, but not like that. It was like this whole upgrade since the last time I'd skied in the early 90s, and I was like, I spent a whole day on the slopes and never felt, I was like hot the whole day. I was like, man, this is just too warm.
Yeah. And they got little vents you can open in the armpit now, lets the air, and they've thought of everything. Yeah, it's amazing to me that I watch people go out and ski and they'll buy a $200 lift ticket. You spend a lot of money to get out there. If it's a ski vacation, you're spending a lot of money to be there. Yeah. And then they go out in these crappy clothes, get cold right away, and then go and sit inside the entire day. It's too cold out, or I got a little wet, or I'm sweaty, and then I started to shiver. So it is invest in the good stuff. Listen to us. How much stuff have we sold this morning? Anybody keeping count? Pots and pans, Gore-Tex, memory foam.
Hey man, in our house, my mom would save bread bags for all your you finish that, you take out that last piece of Wonder, and the bread bag is saved. And in the winter, it's a pair of socks, a Wonder bread bag, and then another pair of socks over that. And we were golden, man. Like, get out there, because then you're putting sneakers on top of that, which are not going to keep any. There's no such thing as waterproof boots back in the day, but we'd get snow, and it was like, we're going to go out and play in the snow. Mom, where are the bread bags? Just the things that it's just funny to think about. Like, and now, if I'd ever tried to put a bread bag on my kids' feet, they would have called child services.
Right, exactly. Oh, man, I love it. We're going to get along here. Stranded on a desert island. It's something that we only fantasize about, right? Because it would otherwise, I'm sure, suck hard. But it's one of those things you think, to be stranded on a desert island, what would I take with me? Well, it turns out there's 8 Americans actually going through that right now. They were on a cruise, stopped at the island, and they wouldn't let them back on the cruise. Apparently, they were a few minutes late. They're out there. They're stranded. We have some audio, and we're going to get to that story here about 7:50. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zepp, Tony, Candice, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Wednesday, April the 3rd. I'm not a cruise guy. I've never taken a cruise. I don't judge or look down on anybody who does. I wish they looked fun to me, but they just don't. As I've said many times, I'll just get my Legionnaire's disease on land. You know, if I'm gonna get sick somewhere, I don't want to be around 5,000 strangers riding the waves. I don't know. There's just something about those big cruise ships, and I get the appeal. Like I say, I kind of wish I could just relax and go enjoy it. They have water slides. They got swimming pools. A swimming pool in a boat's a whole concept that still blows my mind. You got all you can eat, all you can drink. You got live entertainment. I mean, they seem great, but I just can't ever seem, you know, and what I think would go terribly wrong is just after a while, I'd be tired of just feeling like I had to talk to new people, and you know, vacation friends. I've never been someone that was like big on meeting new people on vacation and then staying in touch. And I have friends that have countless vacation friends. Oh, I met them at the beach in Florida. I met this guy out in the Rockies on a hike, and I'm like, you met someone on a vacation and then you stayed friends with them in real life? That's just not my bag. But sounds great. I kind of wish I could go for it. Of all the things that have kept me from being interested on being on a cruise ship, though, the one thing I don't think I've ever truly spent much time thinking about is, well, what if the boat leaves without me? You know, boats pull into harbor.
Yeah.
You get off on an island. You get off somewhere else. And then sometimes the boat just, I don't know, leaves and you're not back on it. That's kind of scary.
I would be down for cruises. I just wish that we could do all the stuff that you do in the cruise ship, just not moving. Like just stay. It could just stay there, and we could have all the
Yeah, it's called the Mall
drinks.
of America.
But it's cooler because they have more stuff on the cruise.
Well, I mean, is it a motion sickness thing?
Yeah.
The Mall of America. Yeah. Just go out there and put on your deck wear and pretend you're on a cruise.
They got
It might
bars.
work.
They got stores.
Yeah.
They got tons of observation decks.
I want the all-inclusive thing is nice, and having it, like the rooftop pools.
Well, that's
and
what people
stuff.
dig, right? Yeah, it's like the super resort, but it's out in the ocean. And I was actually just talking to a friend yesterday, Lance, about cruise. I'm like, I'm not like Steve, not really much of a cruise guy. Having said that, I've never been on a cruise. Who knows? Maybe I'm missing out on what would be the most exciting time of my
I feel
life.
like you're a cruise guy.
You think I do like to cruise, but as far as being on the boat, but he said, he likes to go on cruises, and he said it's all about the stops. It's where you stop, and that's where I would get nervous that I'd get left behind, like Steve was talking about, because when you stop, you party, you go nuts, and I tend to lose kind of track of time and space and reality and good common sense on those stops, and I'm sure I would be the guy going, look at that little dot way out there on the horizon. Is that my ship? And that's happening for some folks right now, and not in like a cool way where they just kind of left them in a little party spot either.
8 cruise passengers left behind. 8 Americans were on a Norwegian cruise line ship, and this particular cruise was making its way up the western coast of Africa. 8 cruise passengers were left behind. They got out. They went into the island nation of, I don't even know how to pronounce this, Sao Tome and Principe. They've been struggling now for days trying to catch back up to their cruise ship. 8 folks were on the island on a private tour that was not organized through the ship itself, and somehow missed the, hey, better be back on board by 3 p.m.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though. They have a tour cruise operator, whatever. I forget what the person's called. But
her name's Julie McCoy.
Yeah, Julie McCoy is on the island with you, and she calls over to the ship and says, hey, let the captain know that we're running a little bit late. We've got 8 coming. We're running a little bit late. Apparently, I don't know, in this captain's service, they didn't have that no tourists left behind. He said, screw them. We're not waiting, and took off. That would piss me off. I mean, like, you couldn't hang out for 8 people. Where do we have to? Can't you, like, hit the gas a little bit on the next stop to wherever? Anyway, here's a couple talking about it.
The harbor master tried to call the ship. The captain refused the call. We sent emails to NCO. They said, well, the only way for us to get in touch with the ship is to send them emails. They're not responding to our emails. The captain could have made an easy decision to turn one of the tender boats back, pick us up, safely load us, and then go on the way. They had no port of call for the next day. They were simply going to be at sea.
Oh, see, now wouldn't that piss you off? By the way, I didn't even think about that. Not being a seafarer, a seaman myself, is that, send one of the dinghies back, pick them up, bring them up.
Something.
And it's not even going anywhere. It's just sitting out there in the ocean. But this captain...
So they booked this tour. Like the cruise line is saying, well, you didn't book this through us. You did it on your own. You had a day on this island, and you went and booked your own thing. So first of all, that's like their way of washing their hands from it. Check this out. It's 8 people. They spent 15 hours and actually traveled through 6 different countries trying to get to Gambia where they knew the ship would be. But the ship didn't pull into Gambia because it was bad weather. So they had made this incredible trek for 15 hours, again, crossing through 6 different international borders. And then they get there and they're told, oh, no, the boat can't land. The weather's too choppy. Check this out. This group of 8 people, several members are elderly. One is a paraplegic and one woman is pregnant.
What in the hell is up this captain's keister? I mean, where are those African pirates when you need them? I know they're on the other side of the continent, but that's why they're cruising the west coast over there, the safe side of Africa. But, oh, man, how pissed would you be? I mean, it's a memorable trip. They're going to take home a lot of memories.
One passenger actually had a medical emergency, and they're in the hospital on Sao Tome now. This sounds just like this is a Netflix series waiting to happen. I mean, you could give me 10 hours of what happens to 8 people whose cruise ship abandons them on an island off the west coast of Africa. I'd dive right in. And I would remind myself, that's right, that's why I don't do the cruises.
Yeah.
Candice said something a minute ago about like the all-inclusive. It just seems really easy, and it does. And I will say, my wife and I took one trip to an island, to Columbus Isle in the Bahamas, is what it's called. And because it's actually called something else. It's the first place Christopher Columbus actually set foot. Columbus never came near the mainland. He was in the Bahamas. But so the island that he first landed upon, which is called I can't even remember the name of it, but they call it Columbus Isle. A buddy of mine had gone. There's a Club Med there. And I'd heard of Club Med, but I literally always associated it somehow with a medical thing. Like, I thought Club Med is where you went to get well. And then he goes, no, Club Med, it's like a vacation spot, you dummy. And this one had scuba diving and everything was inclusive and it was kind of cool. And in June, we could get a good deal. Long story short, my wife and I decided to try this out. Within one day, we realized we'd made a mistake. We're not the all-inclusive type of people. And what all-inclusive means is, you get to this little island resort and you don't have to think about, everything's paid for ahead of time. So you just go do whatever you want. You want to go shoot pool. You want to go get a drink at the bar. They give you these little beads and then you dole out beads instead of money and your meals are all covered. But it's buffet style and you're just sitting at a table with strangers. And after 2 or 3 days, I don't care how good the buffet is, you're just kind of tired of buffet living. At least we were. None of it worked. And we had bad weather. It was just like, it turned into like everything that could have gone wrong did. There was sea lice. They called it sea lice, just some weird things in the water where they were like, well, we're not going to go to scuba where we normally do. We'll go over here to where there's no reef and no fish. You're just kind of like, oh, for God's sakes. Anyway. It just wasn't our vibe at all. We didn't buy in because everybody was on the island. Like, we felt like everybody felt like they needed to be having the best time of their life. And we were like, are they really having this much fun or are they pretending? I don't know. The whole thing just went sideways. And that's what I am. And I just think to myself, but at least we were on an island. Like, I didn't get seasick sitting on an island. What if all this was happening, but it was on a boat?
The norovirus, these sort of things. Hell, during the pandemic, the coronavirus, are we calling it that anymore? COVID. Boy, that was a blast from the past, the coronavirus.
That's right.
COVID, that whole thing. I mean, the people were stranded out there for weeks, but let's put COVID, that serious stuff, aside for a moment. These outbreaks of the norovirus, people puking and crapping themselves, and the boat is shut down and you're sick, and now you're on a boat, you're in a cabin.
I don't want nothing to do with it.
And we're not selling the cruises this morning. There are going to be a lot of people. I mean, sell us on a cruise, 651-989-ROCK. What do you love about cruises? Maybe those are the things people like Candice was talking. And it is about the stops. I get it. There's an Alaskan cruise my parents went on, and we're trying to kind of set one up by that. Well, Alaska doesn't have a lot of infrastructure inland, so you're not going to cruise around and see a lot of, I think we have a caller, actually.
Yeah, Michael from Cokato.
Michael, good morning.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
We're great, brother. What's on your mind?
My wife and I have been on a bunch of cruises.
Oh, nice.
And when the boat docks, before they let you off the boat, they tell you probably 6 times, we are leaving at this time. You need to be back on the boat, or you will be left, and you'll have to catch up with us at the next stop. I mean, these people knew. They're obviously people who are late for everything, I would imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We never had a problem with that. You always get there. We would stand on the side of the boat, and we'd watch all these people running down the dock, because they're late. It's just.
Well,
That's me.
So you've
That's
seen
what I'm
people.
doing.
You've seen people running to the boat, saying, "Wait, wait."
I'm going to wake up the next morning with a hangover, wondering where the hell the boat's at. The cruise is not for me. Yeah, I couldn't do it, man, just because I don't want to be first of all, I'm on a vacation. I don't want to be on this hard clock, It's like going to Disney World or something like that.
So you're not on a hard clock. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. If you want to sit and drink and get drunk for the whole week or whatever.
What's the longest?
I'm doing that right now.
Michael, what's the longest cruise you've been on?
7 days.
7 days. All warm weather stuff? Have you ever done the Alaskan thing?
We have not. I would love to do the Alaska one, but we've been mainly on the east end.
Yeah.
All the Caribbean ones. And
Nice.
We've been to St. Martin and a bunch of other nice places.
Never had a sickness? Never got sick on one of those boats?
Never had a problem.
You ever done one? You know what kind of interests me? One of those rock and roll cruises where you go out with the rockers, and they just, and you party down. But I think that might be kind of cool. I wouldn't mind doing one of those.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for the call. We appreciate it. That's one strong vote for the cruise life from Michael. I appreciate the call.
That's right.
Thank you,
You
brother.
guys have a great day.
Everybody I know in bands who does the rock cruises or the jam cruise or the blues cruise or whatever, I mean, they all say it's great. They absolutely have a great time. And I've had a couple opportunities to take part, and I just couldn't pull the trigger. I just couldn't do it. I don't know what it was. I do know what it is. It's everything I've been saying. That's exactly what it is. Candice, we have another caller who wants to talk about, I imagine, cruise life. Who we got?
Barbara from Hudson, Wisconsin.
Barbara, good morning.
Good morning. So the beauty of a cruise, first of all, before you go on a cruise, they tell you everywhere, everything you sign. Go on our excursions, because if you're late, then they won't leave without you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the beauty of going on a cruise is you don't have to convince your husband to go to meals with your little kids. So if he gets up at 5 and eats breakfast 2 times before you get up with your kid, you can go to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And he can go to first breakfast, third lunch, 12th dinner. He can eat a burger and ice cream, but you can still go to meals with your kids. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and would you agree with my friend? It's a lot about do you think about the stops, or I just want to be out on the cruise? I like being on the boat. Sure, the stops are fun, or is it as much about where you're stopping when you book your cruise?
It's both. One time, our kid didn't want to leave the kids club. We got off the cruise without her. I can't believe I left my kid.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
But also, it's a great place to teach your kid how to snorkel, or your husband can go off and scuba dive, and you don't have. So it's a great family vacation because there's something for everyone.
Yeah, it sounds like a great family vacation for families that don't want to spend their time together.
Yeah, because now we have a COVID canceled vacation, and now we're divorced, and I have to go with him next year. But
oh boy!
You guys are divorced, and you're going to do this make good cruise together? Now, this is the Love Boat scenario. You guys are going to get back together?
Hell no!
How's that going to work? I mean, okay, this is a Love Boat scenario all the way.
When it's your kids' college and grad school graduation, how do you say no?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, that's, man, you got to check back in and give us a good, how that story. I can honestly say I've never vacationed with an ex. I was kind of going through a breakup once, and we decided to, we had this trip up to Lutsen planned, and both of us had sunk a little money into it, like a couple of $100. So we went skiing, and it was a disaster, by the way, but I'm sure it'll work out for you. I think that's cool.
That is cool.
I'm lining up high school friends as girl high school friends as my cabin mate.
There you go.
Fair enough. Oh yeah, because then you guys you won't be all just talking and making plans and strategizing and stuff. Not at all. Hey, thanks for the call. That's great. Best of luck on that cruise. I'm sure it'll be fun. And I tell you what, I mean, I can just see Doc and Grady and Isaac, and they all see you boarding, and they're like, oh, they'll be back together. They'll be back together before this thing ends.
No,
That's it. Not us. I like a woman with a plan. Thanks for the call. Who else we got, Candice?
All right, Diana.
Yeah.
New Richmond.
There you go.
Diana, good
on an
morning.
island.
Good morning. I am voting for cruising as well. My husband and I have been cruising for many years. Our longest one has been 15 days through the Panama Canal, and I'm retiring the end of this year. So our big trip next year is going to be a 27-day cruise.
Wow.
27 days, man.
I agree with you. It's not for everyone.
Right.
But for some of us, we absolutely enjoy it.
It sounds like it. Can you tell when you get on a cruise right away? Do you look at other people and go, oh, they're not going to like this? I mean, have you seen people experience their first cruise and realize they'd made a big mistake?
You know, sometimes you get that vibe from people, like they wish they were somewhere else. The sun isn't for them. You know, they don't want to be on a beach chair or whatever the case may be. But you know what? They've tried it.
Yeah.
They decide they don't like it. They move on and do something different.
Live and learn.
Do you know
That's
if people...
exactly right.
Because Candice brought it up, and I was curious because they're such huge boats. They don't look like they're rocking out there with the waves at all. They look pretty steady. Candice is worried about motion sickness on a cruise. Do you feel that on a cruise like you might on a pontoon or something like that?
I've only just a little bit felt it on one cruise, and it was rather choppy water. But the key is to keep moving. You don't want to sit. You don't want to lay down because then all you're thinking about is that movement. You just want to keep walking around. And
all right. Take another lap,
pretty
Candice.
Funny watching everybody look like they're drunk walking back and forth across the hall. But
Sure. All right,
good
then.
time.
So wait, where is this 27-day monster cruise where are you going?
We are flying to Australia.
Oh,
and
wow.
So we leave from Sydney. We will see a couple ports in New Zealand, and then we're going to see all the little lovely islands in the Pacific that we've always wanted to see, but can't afford to go back and forth to see them all.
Yeah,
so we're like, let's just do it all in one big trip.
all right. You know what? I'm applauding that one. I mean, flying to Australia, getting on that boat. That journey, just getting there is enough of a journey, is a trek. Man, the jet lag is intense. Stay well hydrated on those flights. That's my advice. And boy, I tell you right now, when the governor of the state says, "All right, you got to leave. You got one place to go, or we're gonna flip the switch." New Zealand is the place, man. You're gonna love it down there.
That's the one spot in this whole trip that I would definitely want to go back to and make a separate trip.
Awesome. That's so. Oh, have a great time. That sounds great. Thanks for the call.
You bet. Thank you.
Man, I tell you what, I've only been to Australia and New Zealand twice. I don't mean to sound like I'm. But I was touring. I mean, we were touring for so long. We went to a lot of places, but sadly, only twice down there, and both times. The first week, man, my jet lag was so intense. I just felt completely drugged and dopey and like I had vertigo for 5 days, both times.
Yeah.
But the back half of the trip down there was incredible both times, and I loved it, and I hated leaving, especially New Zealand. That's the spot, man. When she said we're going to fly to Australia, get on a boat, and go to New Zealand, right away I went, oh, well, hang on. That would be worth it. Okay, that sounds like a plan.
And like she said, what you get to see. Now, of course, that's 27 days. But even on a week-long trip, you're island hopping or you're in Alaska. And, you can't drive and see much in Alaska. You just can't get around. Like I said, they don't have the infrastructure and the road system. But you cruise up the coast and you see it all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, kind of selling me a little bit on the idea of
surely, though, somebody's got a cruise nightmare story. I'm open to anything you got.
I heard mine about getting sick, and when I was a kid, my parents went on the excursion without me, and I had to be alone and sick. And
They gave you a purple shot, right?
Yeah, they took me down to the below deck.
Yeah.
And gave me some sort of giant shot with a giant needle and some purple fluid was inside.
And all those Irish people were dancing a jig. Yeah, I saw them. We saw Titanic too, Candice, okay?
And they closed the cage door on her.
That's exactly it.
To Mike's point about being late back to the boat, looking at a different story that popped up here this morning on the same topic of the 8 Americans stranded on the west coast of Africa over there. They were over an hour late back to their boat. That's going to grind the gears of someone called a captain. I mean, look at the way they're dressed. Look at their training. An hour late to them is you might as well have just walked on the boat, stomped on his perfectly shined shoes, and spit on his face.
Yeah, no kidding. Threw his Jack Russell overboard.
Still, it seems like they could have made more of an effort here by sending someone back. So maybe a little chip on the shoulder. Enough is enough. Get the people off the island and back on the boat or on a plane and get them home.
No kidding.
What'd you say? A paraplegic, a pregnant woman, and being late isn't. It's not a capital offense for crying out loud. But
651-989 is the KQ Talking text line. You got cruise stories? We'll take them. Let's stay right here. Why don't we? I mean, not right now, but thematically. Let's stay on the cruise lane, shall we? Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talking text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Wednesday, April the 3rd. We've been discussing cruise ships lately. Cruising, the idea of getting on a big old boat full of strangers and seeing about having yourself a good time. Candice is, how many cruises, Candice? Was there just the one sick cruise as a kid?
Yep, I think I just went on that. Yeah, there was probably I was probably 7.
Right. And that was all it took. 0 for 1 is what the batting record would be. You got on one, you got sick, they gave you a shot with a giant hypodermic needle full of purple goo. But you're still here now, so at least it did the job.
Honestly, after this conversation today, I'm willing to give it a shot. And if I get sick, that's whatever. You guys are going to have to deal with me.
Okay, fair enough.
We're going on the KQ Morning Show cruise.
I guess I feel like that. I feel like something's brewing.
We have a couple of them out on the river, however, and they're, contained into an hour or two. We can all hack that. But you haven't got motion sickness out there, and I've seen you do a couple of purple shots. Grape apes, I believe.
That's exactly right. We've all seen those. KQ Talking text line 651-989-ROCK. We got a lot of people want to talk about cruises. Candice, who we got?
Aaron from New Richmond, Wisconsin.
Aaron, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We're great, thank you. What do you got for us?
Oh, I had the worst cruise experience ever.
Let's have it.
Yuck. We had to go on. We had a marching band field trip, and the jazz band was playing, so everyone had to go.
Okay.
And it was just floating off the ocean. It was just like a day-long excursion.
Okay.
And we didn't really go anywhere.
All right.
But I got sick as a dog.
Uh-oh.
And but then at the lunch service, the guy in front of me dropped dead.
Oh.
Of a heart attack.
Oh, wow. My gosh.
And they were just so casual about it. And I was only 14, so I was just in shock.
Where was this cruise? What body of water were we on?
The Atlantic.
Oh my gosh! So just a single day cruise. They take the whole band out, and then a guy drops right in front of you.
Yes.
I mean, they're probably not built for I suppose. Just throw a sheet over him and head on back, I guess. Wow.
They did, and it was just oh, yeah, whatever. And I thought, okay, great.
I know someone that was out on a cruise.
All your passengers.
Right? No, I have a friend now I'm remembering that was out on a cruise, and she came back and she said, he got off the cruise, and they went out onto the beach there, and everybody was hanging out on the beach. Someone on the cruise died on the beach.
Oh.
And so they ended up putting a sheet over or whatever. Some people came out and responded, but they said because this person isn't and staying here on whatever island this is. We can't take her to our facility. Someone else has to come and get her. And they left her there on the beach all day long. And then they got back on the ship that night where they stayed for the night, woke up the next morning, walk out onto the deck, checking out the sights. And there's the lady still down there on the beach. Someone had not yet come to pick her up because of some jurisdictional thing. And yeah, that's where there got to be some crabs and things crawling around.
Aaron, have you been on a cruise since, or was that the last time?
No, that was the last one.
Yeah.
And we have an autistic son, so there's no way we're doing that.
Yeah.
We're not even going to try it.
That all checks out. Aaron, thanks for the call. Sorry you had to go through that. That's pretty tough, especially at the age of 14. Appreciate it.
Okay. Well, you guys have a great day.
See ya. When she said I had the worst cruise ever, I'm, of course, anticipating, I got so seasick because I was drinking shots. And or no, just a man fell dead right at my feet. That was not what I was expecting to hear at all. That's pretty it. Candice, who else we got?
Susan from Bloomington.
Susan, good morning.
Good morning.
What have you got for us, Susan?
I've been on 4 cruises, and the first 3 were kind of, so-so, but the last one was a kiss cruise.
Nice.
So that one was a complete blast.
Are you talking about like swingers or? No, I'm teasing. The rock band Kiss. Yeah, that would have been cool.
Kiss.
So it's a Kiss cruise, meaning Kiss is on board and performing each night. Is that right?
Yeah, and then they would each have individual things going on. Like Gene and his wife had like a newlywed game show. And that was hilarious.
Yeah.
That's all over YouTube. And like Paul Stanley would have a Q&A, and there were other bands on there like LA Guns and Dokken, and George Lynch did his thing as well, and Warrant. And
did you have a chance to meet Gene and Paul?
Yeah, they just walked around on the ship.
Cool.
That's amazing. After all these years, they're still just rolling up and down the cabana. What is the promenade deck or whatever they used to call it? Yeah, promenade.
But it was really cool. And then like one of the stops was in Cabo, so go into Cabo Wabo, and there's Warrant at the bar, so we bought them all shots. And
nice.
It was really cool just to hang out and, say hi every time somebody walks by. And
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was a blast.
So how many times did you see, how many times did Kiss perform that you saw?
They performed right away when we got on the ship. And then they had 2 different concerts in like the main concert hall type thing.
And so the main concert hall has do they have the pyro and the flames and all that stuff?
They had a lot of it, but just not as big as a normal show.
Yeah, but still, God, that's amazing. Bringing a Kiss concert onto a ship, that's nuts.
Yeah, it was their last one, and now they're going to have another cruise, but it's going to be all their individual things, individual bands.
Gosh. It's
like
amazing.
Paul and his soul band, or whatever you call it.
So are you in the market? Will you go see one of those?
I probably won't. I went mostly because I'm just like, it's probably never going to happen again. I want to go do something fun type of thing.
Yep.
Life is short. Let's go. I've been found out after I booked it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Susan, thank you for the call.
You bet. Bye-bye.
I mean, it really throws the variety into the whole vacation experience. If for those of us who, some people are selling us on some cruises. There's been some bad things, but how many cruises go out every day? Eventually, you're gonna, run into a weird experience on a cruise, or they're gonna pop up. But just for variety, are you coming around at all, Steve?
I think if you go on the Kiss cruise, then you will come home and fully understand the old line of "I need a vacation from my vacation."
Come on, Gene Simmons and his wife doing a game show.
You're not coming back rested, is my point.
No,
if anything, you're like, I got to get back to work so I can get some sleep.
Yeah.
Man, the Kiss cruise, that just sounds like an incredibly intense experience.
Yeah,
because you're on a boat because most of the people, like Susan would probably say I was one of the least rabid Kiss fans. Clearly a fan. She went on the cruise, but there's people who are like, this is I've been waiting however long to be on this ship with this band right now. I just imagine there's a visceral intensity to the vibe on that ship from the minute it sets sail to when it gets back to port.
Yeah, not for every band. There's just some bands that cannot be that immersed in their, with their fans probably. That's a lot. That's almost sensory overload. I forget how long she said. Was it a week or just a few days?
I don't know if she did, in fact.
Day 4, I got to imagine.
I could just headbang the whole time, and then it will just be distracting, and I won't get sick.
That's the key. That's the key. Keep on.
I found out with road trips now, if I just eat the whole time, then I don't get sick. It's just I got to be distracted.
That's it. All right. So headbanging and Cheez-Its are the key to Candice's stomach staying how it should. Do we have another caller, Candice?
Yeah, Matt from Circle Pines.
Matt, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
What do you got for us, brother?
All right, you guys talked about those people being late back to their ship.
Yep.
Well, back in the early 80s, I was in the Navy, and I missed my ship's movement, which is a very big thing in the Navy.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Yes. I was stationed in Vallejo, California, which is up by San Francisco, and we were going down to San Diego for the weekend and do some Navy games or something. I don't know what the hell we were doing.
Navy games. Sounds fun.
But anyways, I had a girlfriend, and she thought, well, why don't I drive down to San Diego and we can party all weekend while you're down there? Oh, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So my ship takes off for San Diego, and she hops in her car and drives down to San Diego, and we meet up, and we party for the weekend. And so now it's Sunday night, and we're leaving San Diego Monday morning, at say 8 o'clock. Well, we're partying hard on Sunday night, and we get a hotel room, and it's like, well, I got to get an alarm clock, so I make it back to the ship in time. So when I checked in, I asked the guy for an alarm clock. We get into our room, set the alarm, turn off the lights. Wake up the next morning, and it's like I could tell that it's like, wait, it's not 7 o'clock in the morning, right? Well, when I turned off the lights, I turned off the power to the alarm clock.
Oh boy!
So we realized, I'm late. We hop in the car, fly back to the pier, and I can see my ship out there, 200 yards out.
Oh,
I almost thought of diving in and swimming after it.
What kind of ship was this?
It was an ammunition ship.
Ooh, boy.
About the size of a cruiser or battleship.
Okay.
All right. So you're hoping they, throw you a rope?
No, I knew there was nothing I could do.
Yeah.
So I just...
Take your lump, stand tall before the man. How bad was the... What do you get out of that when you miss your ship?
Well, I'm smarter than the average bear. I blamed it on the hotel that they gave me a faulty alarm clock.
There you go.
So I went back to the hotel and, raised holy hell and said, hey, your alarm clock you gave me didn't work, and I missed ship's movement. Well, the guy felt so bad for me that he wrote a letter saying that, yes, I was being prepared, and he did request an alarm clock, and it failed. So I got no punishment whatsoever.
Wow,
that's lenient.
Man, that is lenient. Even with the letter, I would have expected them to say, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's on you. Travel with your own. That's you lucked out on that one.
Something. Yeah, no doubt.
Matt, can you still remember the sinking feeling of seeing? You look at the water and there's your ship, and you probably knew it was already gone, but to actually see it gone, that must have been a moment.
Yes, when you brought up the story about those people on the cruise ship,
it's
like, I know exactly how they feel.
Yeah.
I could see my ship, and yes, I thought I was really in trouble. But
well, you got some buddies on that ship too, going, "Oh man, that's in a lot of trouble."
Oh yeah,
this isn't good.
Yes.
Man, well, Matt, thanks for the call, brother. That's a good one. I can only equate that to a couple times I've missed a flight and I've been on the concourse and you're running to the gate and you see them shut the door. That's happened to me twice.
Yeah.
And once they shut that door, they do not open it for any reason.
Yeah.
Even if you're like 4 seconds late, it's like, no, that is an FAA thing. And I have both times, wait, and there goes the door, and it like goes in slow motion.
Yeah. Right. I know.
It's the worst.
You get to go back to the bar anyway, but yeah, you're right. Especially if it's a work trip, you're out on tour doing something and you realize, oh man, I've created like a whole accordion effect of things that are going to go, a whole domino effect here of things that are going to be a pain in the ass. I think about him when he says, wakes up late and he goes, I knew it wasn't 7 o'clock. That's not 7 o'clock sunshine coming through the window.
Oh yeah, no,
I've done that, I've talked about this probably in the last couple of weeks. We were talking about being late to work, but waking up and going, oh my God, it's like 7 o'clock, and you turn on the KQ morning show as you're driving in, listening to everyone have a good time. And occasionally someone will say, because we sit in separate studios, right, Zepp? Where's Zepp at? And you're like, oh my God. And I'm on 169 going, come on, you people, move. Is this what people do every morning? Sit in this crap? How do you get? Yeah, it's a sickening feeling, and that's radio. Who gives a coyote's kidney?
I got to bed early last night. Actually, was asleep early. Had a great night's sleep for the first time in a few days. But I popped awake at 1:30, just like ding, grabbed my phone, because in my brain, I felt rested. It must be 7:15 a.m. I just knew it. And I was like, oh, it's only 1:30. Sweet.
I love that.
But I love it too. But that initial charge before you see the time.
Especially if you get a surge of adrenaline, you can go back to sleep after that. No, for me, I got to, and I'm up. Here we go. Let's get the day
Candice,
started.
Do we have another caller?
Dan from Hugo.
Dan, good morning.
How are you doing?
We're great, brother. What do you got for us?
Well, I've done 7 cruises, and I've done 30-day cruises, and I've never had a problem.
Wow.
They make it unequivocally clear to be on time. And if we were all in a plane waiting for people to show up, it's easy to wait for them because you can catch up in the air. The planes go, 600-700 miles an hour? But a ship, they're slow. They're only going about 30. But my story is a different story of a cruise ship. My friend was a captain of a cruise ship. Now, he was in Alaska, and the other captain sexually asphyxiated himself. He died. And my buddy had to body bag him.
Holy smokes.
And on the 30-day cruise, I remember somebody died. And now I don't know where they put the bodies till the end of the cruise, but that's
in
another
the freezer with the food, I bet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Holy smokes!
Strawberries.
So your buddy was like a Merrill Steubing. He was the captain of a huge cruise ship.
Yeah,
he was second in command.
Okay.
I bet no one on the Love Boat died of autoerotic asphyxiation, though.
Well, yeah. So anyway, he's in Juneau, Alaska.
Not in character.
Basically with the police, explaining everything that was going on. But, he didn't like it. In fact, he's a mariner right now. He works 30 days on, 30 days off in Africa.
Oh, wow.
But he left the cruise industry because he just did not like it.
Yeah.
He said, and all these cruise lines are different. And he was with a smaller cruise line. But like I say, he had to body bag the captain. That was basically up to no good.
Yeah, well, different strokes for different folks. You really should have a spotter on a deal like that, I would imagine. But the nature of it.
Anyway, that's my story.
That is a hell of a story. Very unexpected. Thanks for calling in, Dan.
Hey, you take care. Great talking with y'all. Bye.
Cheers. I guess, if you think about it, if you live in a town, with 5,000 people, every week someone's going to die, every month at least.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
So every boat out there with 5,000 people, I guess it's not actually that unusual that somebody expires.
They probably have a little morgue down there, I would think. Or, they go in next to the P's, in the big walk-in or something like that. But,
sure.
It's going to happen.
Oh, well, I'm sure they have such a protocol, just a complete, if this happens, here's your checklist. They've learned it. They've studied it. That's like pilot training.
If the captain hangs himself while masturbating.
Exactly.
Body bag him.
Yep.
Notify his family. Hey, speaking of cruise, we got to cruise along here. We have a guest, Rebecca Boyle. has a book, Our Moon, How Earth's Celestial Companion Transformed the Planet, Guided Evolution, Made Us Who We Are. Of course, we have the big solar eclipse coming up on Monday, the moon moving between us and that big old burning orb in the sky. So we're going to talk about that. A bunch of solar eclipse stuff coming up here. That's happening on Monday, by the way. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zepp, Tony, Candice, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Gold Dust Woman, Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks. She's kind of a celestial being into her own, isn't she, Candice?
Man. She's trending on Twitter right now, and I was just like, why?
Stevie?
What's going on? All nervous and stuff, but I don't think anything bad is happening.
It's because there's an eclipse coming up, and people look at the moon and they see her.
And they often confuse her with Bonnie Tyler. Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right over my little head there.
Fleetwood Mac's also trending. I saw that this morning. We're watching, aren't we so finger on the pulse here? But every time, Steve's talked about it too. We see someone that's reached the iconic status, and all of a sudden they're trending, and we get really freaked out and nervous. But so then I saw Fleetwood Mac trending, and I thought, new tour? Are they getting the band back together? Lindsay, perhaps? But no, I don't know. People are they wake up in a mood, and they woke up in a Fleetwood Mac mood.
I love it.
Someone posts some photo that no one's ever seen of Stevie's side boob, and suddenly it's trending on Twitter. That's just how it works. Or it's just like, I never saw her in that pixie cut. That's cute. And then 13,000 tweets later, she's trending. But if Stevie's trending today, I guarantee it's because there's an eclipse coming on Monday, and she's a moonchild from way back. And speaking of which, in a few minutes, we're actually going to talk with a fascinating guest, Rebecca Boyle, who has a book out about the moon, how Earth's celestial companion transformed the planet, guided evolution, and made us who we are. And if you're rolling your eyes, as I love to do when I see things like that, just hang on, because it's very, very fascinating. The moon ain't just there to look at on a forlorn night and think, who else on Earth is looking at the same moon? Will I ever find love? No, there's a lot more going on than just that. And speaking of this solar eclipse Monday, there was one just in 2017. It's pretty rare that we get two of these bad boys within the space of 8 years now, or 7 years? What's my math? 7 years. But we got another one Monday, and there are a few things going around. Just go ahead to put a couple of rumors to bed in case you've heard this. During the eclipse Monday afternoon, perfectly safe to eat. That's right. There are people out there who think I'm not allowed to eat food during an eclipse.
What the hell? How did that start?
I don't know, but there is a lot of social media chatter suggesting, and this is what they say, the radiation from the sun will be so high that it will poison any food that's out and about, that's being prepared during the solar eclipse.
What?
Wouldn't there be less radiation since it's a solar eclipse?
Yeah, well,
I'm just applying some common sense, and that's also not the case, but that's kind of like my mom saying, don't open the microwave while it's running, Brian. You're going to get cancer. That's not true. Yeah, that's silly.
There are... so check this out. This theory has been debunked by NASA. Yes, that's right. Someone at NASA was told, hey, would you go let the world know it's okay to eat during the eclipse? Someone who literally was like a Stanford-educated rocket scientist is like, I have to write a tweet about what now?
Well, to be honest, if you're going to eat during the eclipse, the actual eclipse while it's eclipsing, you better hurry. You better be waiting with something there to stick in your mouth. They don't last long.
Yeah, don't think I'm going to whip up some tableside guacamole during the eclipse. You'll still be mashing that avocado, wishing it was a little more ripe, and the whole thing's going to be over.
I'm for sure going to eat. I didn't think about it before, but I'm going to be eating during the eclipse now, just because.
You might miss it. What if you start choking during the eclipse? Everyone's watching. They're not paying attention. No one gives you the high. I'm going way off into the tulips now. But so I understand here in Minnesota for this eclipse, we're only going to get about 75% of it. It's more of a Texas and then draw sort of a line up through the Indiana,
and Candice,
New York.
You'll be in Arkansas, correct?
Arkansas, yeah.
Arkansas is you're right there in the path of totality, as they call it.
I'm going to be in totality.
I was in the path of totality in 2017, and I've said it. We talked about it a little bit on this show. It's weird. It's way more impactful than I was expecting to sit through a full solar eclipse. It was like the Olympics. I'm like, I don't care. Stop talking about it, whatever. And then as soon as it happens, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I went from cynic to way too cool for school to holy crap, what did I just sit through in the space of a few minutes? And it was really, really fantastic. And I did have proper glasses in 2017. Candice, you've already been talking about what are you going to do? You're going to sparkle up your glasses.
Well, now I'm nervous. I got these glasses and they're just plain old white, and that's boring. So I was going to go to Michael's and get some jewels and some feathers.
You're going to burn your retinas right out of your head.
I guess.
Have you done the 3 steps to ensure that your glasses are safe for the eclipse? Number 1, put them on indoors and look around.
Yes.
And here's the thing. You should only be able to see very, very bright lights, like a halogen bulb, or have someone put an iPhone flashlight shining directly at you. If you can see that, it's okay, but you shouldn't be able to see anything else. Okay? Number 2, take them outside. Now, don't look at the sun, but look around. It should be too dark to see distant hills, trees, or even the ground where you're standing.
Wear them around today. Walk with a cane or something and just,
Okay.
And then if you've done that, then and only then, take a quick glance at the sun. And it shouldn't hurt at all. You should be able to comfortably look at the sun and see a bright, sharp-edged disc. If it feels hard at all, stop immediately. And only do that if your glasses pass the other 2 tests first. So if your glasses can pass all 3 tests, you are good to go. But it's still not foolproof. You still need to, when you're staring at the sun with your glasses on during the eclipse, you just look away every few seconds. You don't just give it 90 straight seconds. You got to keep looking away just to be safe and ensure, as Zepp said, you don't just burn your eyes right out there.
And I think I feel like we're being a little mom/teacher right here. I mean, good grief. I looked at the sun yesterday. It burns a little. You see some spots, but yeah, good glasses. Did you get them on Amazon? Are they solar eclipse glasses, or did you think I'm just going to get a kick-ass pair of sunglasses?
No, I got them from a legit solar eclipse website, so...
There you go.
They have the little code there's a code that everyone has to have. And I watched a Bill Nye the Science Guy video that had the code repeated like 100 times in different ways.
Yeah, I remember being a kid and they'd have us do that whole put the pinhole in the round disc of paper. We didn't have sophisticated solar glasses or websites to send them to us. But yeah, we used to have to, I forget exactly how it went, but everybody would be out there and, and you're sitting there thinking, I'm not very good at crafts. I didn't even do very good at that turkey with the hand thing, that you trace your hand. So I was a little worried about it, but we pulled it off, I guess. I can see somewhat.
You know what? I had that same thing happen. There was some sort of, must have been just a partial eclipse then. But yeah, there was a whole time, sometime in the late 70s, man, we were doing this whole pinprick into a box and look away, and then you look at the shadow. Yeah. I was so confused. None of it made any sense to me. I was just like, if this is what all this work is leading towards, we really need to just go back in and go back to math class. Who cares?
Right.
But the thing I remember the most about the one in 2017 was just the colors in the sky. It would just I guess the entire the whole universe is basically going, hey, this is an unexpected time to get dark, and so you just see different colors. The air pressure felt different. The humidity seemed to drop. I mean, all of these things happened like in what normally takes course. It's like, a sunset is many minutes, an hour in the making or whatever, and this was more like in 3 minutes it just went from you can still see to you can't see, and then you can see again, and it was just a really I kind of came away from it thinking like, oh yeah, the moon really is like, this connects to our universe entirely, and this planet wouldn't work without the moon, and I couldn't understand it, but I prayed and I wept and I felt born again all in like 4 minutes.
That's why we have Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Did you guys see Wade just sent us a message? Our fearless leader, Wade Linder, boys and girls. Partial eclipse. Good enough reason for us to play all of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon at about 1 p.m. on Monday when this is all going down.
Hell yeah.
Not a partial playing of Dark Side of the Moon for the partial solar eclipse here in Minnesota. The entire Dark Side of the Noon. See what we're doing there? Starting in at noon.
I like it.
The Dark Side of the Noon, Monday, and you guessed it, at noon on 92KQRS.com.
And, of course, you'll want to queue up your Wizard of Oz to go right along with it.
Oh, no.
No.
They get a little. Now, is this kind of a, Candice, I mean, you keep stones in your bra for good luck and this sort of thing. You're
of course.
A bit of a good witch, the old Welsh witch. Is this going to be a spiritual thing for you?
Well, Candice is actually handling
our
caller calling in right now, so we're moments away from picking up the horn right now. Rebecca Boyle joins us on the KQ Morning Show. How Earth's celestial companion transformed the planet, guided evolution, and made us who we are. That is an awful lot to say for the moon. Rebecca, thanks for calling in. Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
I just mentioned a few minutes ago, and you're the perfect person to ask. The 2017 eclipse, I kind of rolled my eyes, was a little tired of the hype, and sat through it going, okay, let's see what you got. And I've never been able to describe it since. It was, what is it about this event that got into my central nervous system so deeply? I mean, is that even a question that's possible to be answered?
I mean, this is one of the things I love about eclipses. They're so impossible to pin down. It's such a transformative experience for people. And I think you're right. Like, a lot of people are like, okay, it's a little bit hyped. Like, do I really want to sit in traffic for hours or whatever? And what if they run out of gas? You know, the logistics are like the least of your worries. I think do whatever you can to get into the center line, into the path of totality, because the sun is vanishing in the middle of the day. It turns to night. You can see the inner solar system. You can see that you're part of a broader cosmos, that you literally feel it. And it's incredible. It's something not to be missed.
You probably don't even need pot for this, do you? I mean, it's a natural high.
Yeah. I mean, it's an incredible rush of endorphins. And, you know, some people feel fear. Some people feel anxiety. Some people feel, you know, transcendent. And I think it's sort of all of the above.
Yeah, that's really good. You said you're a part of the cosmos. It's like we're all recognizing together, we're a tiny blip in the grand scheme of things. And to me, it was a comforting thing. It didn't make it more anxious. It just felt it was kind of calming and comforting. And then also simply just visually, like the colors in the sky as it was getting dark, it just looked unlike anything I'd ever seen before.
Yeah, the way the light gets kind of metallic, you know, as the sun is going away, and then all of a sudden it's this rushing darkness. It descends,
right,
like a curtain, you know.
So, Rebecca, how long back in recorded history have people been freaking out about eclipses? I got to figure, you know, you go back millennia, and upon millennia, it must have been like beyond mind-blowing when they had no idea to expect this, of course.
I mean, the earliest written languages on Earth, some of the first things they write about are eclipses. And this is in Mesopotamia, the area that's now parts of Iraq and Syria, you know, in the Levant. This is like where the cradle of civilization, where the written language arises for the first time. And they literally start writing down eclipses from the very beginning because they're so otherworldly and spiritually significant. And, you know, they, for a long time, were thought to represent omens of something bad happening to the king or an invading army coming. You know, people really were concerned with these things from as early as we can go back in history.
Right, that makes sense. Rebecca Boyle's with us on the KQ Morning Show. The recently released book, Our Moon, How Earth's Celestial Companion Transformed the Planet, Guided Evolution, Made Us Who We Are. Where will you be for the eclipse?
I will be in Hot Springs, Arkansas,
there you go.
at the Atlas Obscura Ecliptic Festival. We have a good forecast. Like, some of the forecasts are not awesome yet for next week. It's still early. We'll see. It's a few days out, but it looks like it's going to be pretty clear skies in Arkansas.
Oh, well, that's great. I had heard the exact opposite, in fact, so that's good to hear. So we had one in 2017. Is it unusual to have two this close together?
Eclipses tend to follow this kind of repetition, actually. And so this one goes in an opposite pattern as the one in 2017. So if you looked at a map and kind of transposed both eclipse paths, it looks like a big X crossing North America. And so this kind of goes the opposite direction. And that has to do with just the orbit of the moon, the orbit of the Earth around the sun, the way that, where Earth is tilted. There are these imaginary points in space called the nodes of the moon.
Right.
All very complicated physics, but that dictates when eclipses happen, and they do repeat on these cycles called a Saros cycle. But this is the last eclipse that will cross the northern or the lower 48 until 2045. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Watch it now.
Yeah, definitely worth reminding ourselves. Not that anyone on Monday is going to overlook this. It's becoming quite the story. So, I mean, the moons, I'm just looking at a lot of the stuff you touch on, the specific size and distance from Earth. It is like... I get blown away by how anybody can figure out how anything works. Like, we were talking about cruise ships earlier today, and I look at a ship and I think to myself, I don't know how that doesn't sink. It makes no sense to me. The way anyone figured out how the moon operates in conjunction with Earth will forever blow my mind. But to the people that study this and have known a lot of this stuff for centuries, this is just completely in harmony. I mean, the moon is literally our planet doesn't exist as we know it without the moon.
That's right. I mean, I think it's a fundamental part of everything that's ever happened on this planet.
Right.
And that's the adventure to me, is finding out why and how. And wouldn't it be wonderful to know why now? Why here? Why us? All of the deepest questions we've ever asked ourselves are things we can get at by trying to study the moon and the Earth and the sun.
That's awesome. So, Rebecca, I'm also going to be in Arkansas. What should I not do during the eclipse?
Do not look directly at the sun until it is completely gone. And you'll be able to tell that in a few different ways. One is the temperature change. The sky will get dark. You'll be able to pull off your glasses at that point. But before that, do not look at the sun directly. You need special glasses or a filter on a camera or a, pinhole camera. You can punch a hole in an index card and look at the ground, or my favorite is to have a pasta colander, because there's lots of little holes, and you can look through that at the ground and see crescent suns.
Oh, cool. I have to think, Rebecca, once people find out what you study and what you're so knowledgeable of, you probably hear a lot of crazy stories. Do you have any good, do people come to you and say, this happened to me during an eclipse? Are there any wild ones?
Well, after the last one, I heard a lot of stories from friends who traveled to see it or drove across, different states to watch this thing. And people had really different experiences. And a common thread was that, oh, my God, you were right. One of my friend's daughters was crying, was sobbing, and was so overwhelmed by the entire experience. It really kind of changed her perspective on her entire life and her future. And I think those are things that happen during these events.
Yeah, I watched it with my wife and some friends of ours, another couple. We were at their backyard. They had a good, wide open backyard. We were in Nashville, Tennessee at the time, which was not the longest part of totality, but it was in totality. We were able to look, and as I mentioned earlier, we when it ended, we just kept going, huh. Four people who talk a lot didn't have a word to say for a while. It really was very, not unnerving in a bad way, but unnerving in a really mystical. And I'm the first guy to roll my eyes when people say stuff like this, but it truly was way, way better than advertised.
Yeah, and I think that'll be the case for sure on Monday.
Yeah, for sure. Rebecca, have a great trip to Arkansas. That Atlas Obscura thing, I've seen the event, all the things that are happening in that area. It sounds like it's going to be absolutely fantastic, and thank you for taking the time to call in.
Thanks for having me.
See ya. All right, there you have it. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, man. Figure it out. Get there. Go with Candice. Candice, you got room in the car?
Yeah. I'm picturing Candice with a colander on her head.
She was pretty cool, but that was just a bunch of spoilers, if you ask me. God, what am I?
What do you mean spoilers?
She told me everything that's going to happen. Now I know everything. I wanted a little
The
shock
frickin'
value.
moon is going to become between you and the sun. Is there anything else that's going to happen?
I'm just being a jerk.
It's going to transform you spiritually.
Dude, yeah, what if I come back a totally different person? Oh my God.
Okay, it's a frickin' moon coming between us and the sun, man. It's just kind of cool.
You know, I've also read people say like, well, if I'm indoors, will I know anything different? And you will. I mean, it feels, the entire atmosphere goes bizarro for a few minutes. Yeah, it's not like you could be inside reading a book and not know that, wait, something really strange is happening out there.
Well, I'm excited. It's my first one. I don't know. I like the science of it. I think the science of it is fascinating. But yeah, the spiritual, sure. It's all that. We're going to get into some real true crime. We've got Suzanne Curran. I don't know how her name's pronounced exactly, but we're going to be meeting her and talking with her about Accused, Guilty, or Innocent on A&E, a true crime series. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Wednesday, April the 3rd. Tonight, April the 3rd at 8:30 Central, the Season 6 of the true crime documentary series Accused, Guilty, or Innocent premieres on A&E. This season, Season 6, has if you're familiar with the show, it's incredibly compelling. It's pretty insane. True stories from crime. And they tell these stories as they unfold. People facing trial for very serious crimes. Everybody claims to be either not guilty or that they were justifiable in their actions. And now joining us, the executive producer, Suzanne Curran, or Curran, excuse me. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Can you correct me? What is it? Tell me again.
Curran's good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you for calling in. This show is, I mean, to put it mildly, can be very, very gut-wrenching. This season's cases, I'm looking at some summaries. We're talking about cases. These are not random crimes. These are almost always the victim and the alleged perpetrator know each other, in some cases, very closely.
Yeah, they do. Often that's the case. We do have crimes where, they don't know each other at all, altercations in, bars or road traffic accidents, stuff like that. But often the best cases are where there is a personal connection, and that's why our accused has ended up becoming a suspect or has been involved in the incident. And there's some great ones. The premiere tomorrow night's but an employee and a boss. We've also got a protective father shooting the boyfriend of his daughter. We've got a DV, a domestic violence survivor, shooting her abusive partner. So yeah, these are juicy, emotional, personal relationships that have ended in tragedy often.
Now, you've worked with shows in the past, The Cruise, which was about luxury cruise lines, The Zoo, about zookeepers. But true crime is something that I imagine more often than not, you're reminded that you can't make this stuff up. The truth is always stranger and more times unbelievable than any fiction that anybody could possibly conjure.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. It's true. The authenticity of the shows is really important, I think, to our viewers. And what it always amazes us is something can change suddenly like that. A decision, the wrong decision, making the wrong move, or, something happens where how the police investigated the scene of the incident, how the accused behaved afterwards, who did they call, who didn't they call, how do family members react. It's incredible how human nature can respond under stress, and that kind of we follow that process right from the incident right up to trial, and it never feels, you couldn't write it as a drama because real human behavior is far better.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, I've watched documentaries and I've read articles. I'll see a link and that looks interesting, and I find myself going down the rabbit hole about human nature. There's no set way to respond or react to any situation. And in these really intense situations where you're talking about manslaughter or murder, violent crime, there's absolutely no way to determine based on someone's initial reactions whether they're guilty or not, is there?
we don't know how the judge is going to determine it. We don't know how a jury is going to determine it. When we get on board our cases, our defense attorney is saying, my client is innocent, or they were justified, and I'm going to argue that they should not be found guilty, and our accused feels the same. So they do feel sure that they made the right call and they don't deserve to be punished. But that's where the stakes come in, isn't it? That's not necessarily how a jury is going to see it, and it's certainly not how the prosecution is going to argue the case. Someone might have died, someone's been badly injured, or a child has become deceased or is ill, and there's no explanation. And people want someone to be held accountable, and that's where the tension comes, and that's the story we follow.
Wow, that's fascinating. Accused, Guilty or Innocent premieres season 6 tonight, 8:30 Central on A&E. A lot of laws, it seems like they are written with a whole lot of ambiguity, almost to be interpreted on a per case basis, even with something as serious as the kind of crimes you're investigating. Are you constantly amazed, or are you intrigued by different attorneys and their different approach and interpretation of things and how they try to go about best providing an innocent explanation for their clients?
Yeah, I am amazed, and what's really interesting is how clever and how kind of analytical the best attorneys are, and how they can really work out the mindset that they need to explain to a jury to help tell their client's story and argue their client's case. And I think the very best attorneys work out how to make a jury understand things from their client's point of view, even if it was on the wrong side of the law. It's about being justifiable and understandable and explaining the context. The other thing that amazes me, though, is how judges and prosecutors are able to be flexible with the law. Like, judges can decide not to admit evidence that the defense attorney has been relying on for months, sometimes years, to help argue his case or her case, and the judge says, I'm not letting that person, let's say the victim had a violent criminal history or illegal gun possession or something that was really important to the case, and the judge says, no, their past record's not relevant. That blows a massive hole in the defence's case. So there's all kinds of brinkmanship and gamemanship that happens within criminal justice that is always surprising to us and can win or lose a case at any moment.
Sure. Suzanne, there's no stakes in this for you, at least compared to a defendant or a victim's family member. But I have to imagine you can't help but be pulled in and have a bit of an emotional journey with each one of these cases yourself.
Oh, for sure. Our teams that go out on the ground, it's a small team. We shoot, just 2 people go on the ground, a producer and a director, and they essentially in bed with the attorney and their accused family and friends. They get to know them. They're with them in the most probably stressful moment of their lives, and very close relationships are established. Us back at HQ take incredible responsibility to tell their story accurately, fairly, sensitively, and make sure that they're happy with what goes on record, whatever the outcome, that we've done right by the case and been accurate and representative. So we all take it incredibly seriously because, you don't get another go at this.
No, I can imagine that there's a lot of late nights trying to make sure that a cut and an edit and that everything is exactly how you want to present it. Yeah, because to your point, an attorney can vary with just a turn of phrase. That can be the secret to unlocking a juror's mind to see something from a new perspective. And you guys have that same power, if you will, that same responsibility to make sure every second matters and counts.
Yeah, it does, exactly. And how you balance someone's story and how you make viewers feel about their case. We have to be so careful that we're fair, we're representative, but we don't run away from the problems with the case. We don't sanitize some of the conflict, but we're absolutely leaning into what are the strengths and positives too. So sometimes it's tricky for us. We have to navigate, the middle path. We are embedded with the defense attorney, but we have to describe the case honestly and acknowledge the arguments that are going to be coming from the state. And that's the job, really. That's the job I do.
Accused, Guilty or Innocent premieres season 6 tonight. It's 8:30 Central on A&E. This is a riveting show. I have seen it in the past, and we will be watching this season. Suzanne, thanks for calling in and taking the time with us.
A great pleasure. Thanks for having having me.
Yep. See ya. It really is these kind of cases. And I mean, true crime is just it's an empire now to itself. And we spend so much time in courtrooms, if you will. Like the guy in South Carolina last year, Alec Murdaugh, that incredibly pure evil in human form attorney from the giant family that had run this Hampton County, South Carolina for a century. This is a guy who's in prison for life for killing his wife and his son, and then now the federal charges for taking money from poor people, millions. I mean, he's done every possible thing wrong. Like you couldn't draw up a more sinister character, and he does it all with a little grin and a nice suit, and he's just born to this world. And this guy's been in courtrooms his whole life, and he knows how to handle on the witness stand. He'd been prepared for this. The average person walks in off the street, and you take a up close look at a courtroom situation. If you're called in to be in a jury pool, or if you are involved in a trial, I've been in 2 trials in my life. Once as a defendant and once as a witness. I got sued, and then I saw an attempted murder, and man, is it not like TV or the movies.
No, I did. I sat in on a trial for a softball coach accused of sexually molesting one of his female softball players, for a week right here in Minnesota. And it's, or if you go in, I've been in for a few misdemeanor things where I'm like, I'm going to court. I want my day in court. And sometimes they just didn't give me a choice.
Yeah.
And you always think, well, I'm prepared for this. I watch a lot of court TV. And especially when you get into these, looking at the true crime shows that you and Suzanne were talking about, Murdered My Boss or Innocent Employee. When you get into these gray areas, and the can of worms that we're dealing with right now in Minnesota, of course, is the Apple River stabbing back in 2022. Steve, 5 people were stabbed.
Oh, yeah.
One young man lost his life.
News, yeah.
Oh, yeah. On trial right now. It's gripping. You're with it. And you make your assumptions and conclusions, and then they start to change and gray a little bit depending on if it's the prosecutor or the defense attorney. And you can see where these things really, like you said, an emotional journey. You're kind of, you want to stay detached from this sort of stuff. You don't want it to keep you up at night, but it's almost impossible.
More than ever, in real time in those settings too. The devil is in the details, and just as a case that everybody can remember, the O.J. Simpson trial. I remember spending from whatever June of 1994 through the end of the year. All anyone talked about was OJ and the trial and the trial and the trial. I mean, it was the trial of the century. What was it, January of 95? Opening arguments. And I'm watching it live on CNN in Germany. It's being shown all over the world, is my point. It's a story that had the entire globe's focus. And I will never forget the feeling I had watching the prosecution put up their opening argument. And because it was awful. It was stilted. That guy, Christopher Darden, who by all accounts was a fine attorney, not ready for his moment under the glare of the international spotlights. A lot of clearing his throat, coughing. And now he was speaking factually and passionately, but he wasn't a great performer. And then you see Johnny Cochran get up there, and my God, the guy starts telling a story, and nobody blinks. You know what I mean? He had that vibe. He knew how to work a jury, and then in that case, he knew how to work a camera. He knew how to work a global audience. Now, it didn't shift people's opinion on whether they think O.J. murdered 2 people. He, of course, did. But the presentation from the 2 sides could not have been more different. And I had such a sinking feeling. I was like, oh, there's no way this guy's going to jail. I thought that on day 1.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
I mean, he came up with a soda pop slogan for it, which us Americans are, very locked into it. It's right, exactly. Yeah. The jury just kind of, we have a slogan. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. And then his arthritic can, he does that, his finest piece of acting, right?
It was his best piece of acting. All that histrionics and all the drama. And in the trial I was in my senior year of high school. Similarly, there was an assistant district attorney. A young guy was handed this case, and he got up to give his opening argument, his opening statement, and he was nervous, and his voice was wobbly. And I'm 17 years old going, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. Well,
Wait,
they're prosecutors. They're the C students, right? I mean, that's who goes to be prosecutors.
Pretty much.
If you're an A student, you go work at a private firm and you make a crap ton of money. Guess how much money Chris Darden and Marcia Clark pre-book, I mean, just for the trial itself, made on that. Now, how much did Johnny Cochran make? How much did Kardashian make?
So much.
They made millions and millions, and it goes back to that old. Well, if you've got enough money, you're going to be able to, outflank the prosecution in most cases. And it's not all prosecutors are like that, but they're just outmanned resources. Yeah. And I say outmanned or outwoman, but resources. I mean, these private firms have buildings, whereas prosecutors, DAs, they have offices, with
of course.
That there was some underpaid people working there. So
that gray area in the way laws are written, so much of it is open to interpretation. So much of it is a question of, is your attorney losing sleep because he's sweating every detail, or is he not? And it's an amazing thing. Now, I don't know that there's a better justice system in the world. I mean, this comes from, this beats the hell out of 1,000 years ago, where somebody said, well, see if he floats. If not, he's a witch. And it's like, we've come a very long way. And I don't mean to say like, oh, the entire system's corrupt and it's ridiculous. But that said, we learned from OJ, it is possible for the police to try to set you up and for you to have actually done the crime. Those two things can exist side by side.
Two wrongs made a wrong.
Because that's exactly right. It made it much more wrong. I was involved in 2 lawsuits, and neither one of them. And by the way, both of the stories, my 2 lawsuits, couldn't be different types of stories, but so clear cut as to what happened. I will go to my grave knowing exactly what happened, as if it's right in front of me, like a movie I'm watching right now. One from 1982, one from 1989. And neither one had a satisfactory result from a jury, because when you go in front of a jury, it doesn't matter what's true. It matters who's going to tell a better story and present it in a way that's more palpable. And boy, have I learned that the hard way twice.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, actually, you can imagine that, but I'm trying to think of myself. No, wait, that's not what, and that doesn't matter in a procedural legal setting sometimes, especially when you talk about civil suits.
Well, I never, the first trial I was a part of, it was an attempted murder. I mean, this was a man with a tire iron trying to kill a guy right in front of me, and he didn't, thankfully. It's hard to imagine having an actual murder trial where the person you love is gone, and then watching somebody just very clearly get away with a crime. That's a level of I just pray I never have to know by any stretch what that would feel like, because I don't think I would handle it very well. And hell, as long as we're here. A buddy of mine a couple years ago was at a mall like out in Arizona, and it was at what's the upscale mall store? Neiman Marcus or Nordstrom, one of those two.
Yeah.
And he was I think he was in Phoenix or Tempe, one of the two, and he was looking at some men's shoes, and you know who helped him? Fred Goldman.
Really?
He was selling shoes. I think he's retired, but that Ron Gold, the dad, the guy with the mustache and the glasses from the trial, who lost his son, he was at the mall, and my buddy looked at him and he goes, there was no mistaking who it was.
Right.
And he just held his hand out and he said, I'm just so sorry. And this is almost 30 years later. And Fred said, thank you so much. Like, it's just that guy's life. I mean, I've just thought about that so much. Like, boy, he's carrying that around and responding, at least publicly, with a grace that, boy, I don't have in me. I'm here to tell you.
Especially knowing that OJ probably has a tea time at a private club in about 15 minutes.
That's exactly right. The whole thing. Man. Would that be gut-wrenching? I had no intention of going into that lane, but you know what? That's we're just sitting around the bar, talking like we do.
Where it takes you,
That's how it's supposed to go. Well, as long as we're doing that, let's look back on some other stuff. On this day in 2019, 5 years ago, San Antonio Spurs head coach Greg Popovich was ejected from an NBA game. That is not that unusual. He probably gets bounced once a year, every couple of years. But this one was notable, I should say, because it happened 63 seconds into the game. 1 minute and 3 seconds into a game in Denver. He got bounced. Clearly not his first time with that referee on the court. They were settling a score from games past, I have to imagine. But you don't get bounced a minute 3 in without there being some history. The word on the street at the time was that, Greg Popovich does have an astounding wine collection. He is a wine connoisseur.
Really? Okay.
And there was a new wine bar in Denver that he just had to check out, apparently. So, remains to be seen if that's the case. But I love the idea of a Hall of Fame coach lasting 1 minute and 3 seconds in a regular season game.
Sounds like something Earl Weaver would do, get thrown out on the first batter,
Uncle Earl? Are you kidding?
Uncle
my
Earl.
God. He was the best.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.